Maybe I should go on Discord. I haven't been on Discord in a while. Oh, let me give you the link. There's no theists in here anyhow. Not too scared. Scared, I tell ya. But you click on the link, you can come on in. I really don't want to do Theist Thursday today. There's so much interesting stuff to talk about other than God or concepts of God. I had an interesting conversation with Nathan from Digital Gnosis and Peter Boghossian yesterday. You can check it out on his channel. If you watch it, you'll see me as the neutral bystander who was trying to increase the love between people who disagree. Oh, I felt so woke. Okay, back to Discord. I don't even know if people talk about theism anymore on Discord, do they? Which channel should I go on to find theists? I got a few here. No, there's not a PineCreek Discord server. Clubhouse Atheists. Right now I'm on the Politics and Religion Discord thing. I don't want to talk to dirty atheists. Christian chat. Nobody. Oh, Faith Talks. Here we go. Do I recognize any names in here? There's a lot of people in there. Hang on. If I go in there, you guys will be able to hear. Am I even allowed to do that, or is that against their rules? Oh, here's the rules. Let's see here. Record. I don't think it's against the rules. Could we do some topics on this UFO? No, I'm not interested in UFOs. Well, actually, that's not true. I would love to see an alien or a UFO. No advertising. Oh, by joining the server, you consent to be recorded. Does that mean I can record? I think so. Because everybody has to assume that they're going to be recorded. So what happens if I click this button? Age-restricted channel. This channel contains adult content. Do you wish to proceed? Oh man, if it's age-restricted, I don't know if I can handle it. Faith Talks, age-restricted? Join voice. Daniel, 25% convinced. Oh, this could be a bad idea.
You can go talking.
Yeah, I'm pro-choice. Yeah, but it sounds like you are too. Deniability. So,
if we're talking about pro-choice and pro-life, and
this is really boring. I really just wanted to hear somebody explain why something like you should have butt sex. We can pick something else if that's too degenerate. Is true or false? I just want to hear somebody explain why that is true or false. Because it should be funny.
Oh my!
So, but Haiti,
oh my goodness! Can you not take a hint? Can you not take a hint?
Yeah. I can take a hint, but give me better.
How many more hints do you need?
Give me better bait. Change the topic.
See, even they are in the Faith Talks section. Even they're talking politics. Can't avoid it. No one cares if you're recorded in PNR. Okay, thanks, Tom Rabbit. But it seems like there's no faith discussions there. It's butt coitus and abortion. What if the alien is a microorganism? That's no fun. I want a macroorganism. You guys ever dream about going to other planets? And I often dream about that. You're in a spaceship that can go through wormholes, and you go to other civilizations. My guess is those other civilizations would be more interesting than Earth. I saw you on Digital Gnosis channel. I thought you asked good questions. Well, thank you, Bill. I was trying to keep the peace between Peter and Nathan. See, Peter has a problem. He gets triggered too easy. Nathan has a problem in that he's too nuanced and he talks a little bit too much. Like if I could go inside Nathan's brain and go inside Peter's brain, I think they could actually have a good conversation back and forth. Oh, let me pin the... So my advice to Peter would be just be more dead inside. Who cares if this young guy named Nathan doesn't trust you, thinks you're blah, blah, blah. Just don't care about that. Just don't care. And for Nathan, just ask Peter short, simple questions and try to have almost no assumptions in your questions as much as you can. And don't worry about, my advice to Nathan would be, don't worry about the right wing taking over the world and causing you pain and suffering. Just don't care about that. I know this sounds so strange for people on the left and even some people on the right, but in fact, if someone wants to come on and convince me I'm wrong about that, I think I'm right about this. That if you want to have a good conversation and you lean left, you basically have to become more dead inside and don't care if you're gonna if you want to have a great conversation about climate change, don't worry about you dying from global warming. If you want to have a good conversation about I don't know, God, you almost have to not care about God. But we humans, it's really tough to do that. Really tough. Yeah, you caught it live. Mukinga Jabanga. What a name. What's the longest amount of time you would spend on a spaceship to explore other planets? That's a great question. I think I would, if I had no family, I dare say my whole life. It depends how much time from planet to planet. Again, I wouldn't want to go into this incubator or the deep sleep for centuries and then wake up and assuming you could just go, okay, what's the nearest solar system and planet that could have intelligent life? You just put it in your computer and then 2 seconds later you're there and then investigate. Can you imagine if we had that technology? You could just jump from solar system to solar system, investigate all these planets that are about the same distance from the sun as ours. Ray says, bad suggestion. Well, come on and tell me why it's bad. Are you talking to me, Ray, about it's a bad suggestion to not care? I'll stand by that. I think the more you care, the more difficult it is to have a conversation. The more likely you are to be triggered, the more likely you are to let your emotions get the better of you, the more likely you are not to listen to the person you're talking to. Don't you think Bogosian worries about the woke ruining his life and causing him more pain than Nathan? Yeah. That's why he gets triggered easily. PineCreek wants the Stargate. Vesna says Peter insulted Nathan over and over. Well, I said it then and I'll say it now that there are things said between those two that are not public that I'm sure plays a big part in the tension and the miscommunication. Like, for example, someone in the live stream right now who I have a history with could say something to me, and other people here say, oh, that's innocuous. That's not bad, Doug. Why are you getting so upset? But it's because of a history, a past conversation or communication on comments going back and forth. This happens. This is why I say that the more you care less, I kind of like that. The less you care, the more likely you are to have a good civil conversation. Just imagine a topic you just don't care about at all. I don't know, the size of a carburetor in a certain engine made in the 70s, and you hear two people having this huge dispute about something, and you as a third party don't care at all. But you can go in and ask, if you're good at asking questions, you can ask questions to get to the root of the problem, to see what would change people's minds, because you just don't care. Okay, Ray. You disagree with about the caring part?
Yeah, very likely.
Okay, why?
The question would be, what does that get you by not caring?
It gets you more objectivity.
I guess I was thinking more like in the long run. I guess I would assume that the reason why you want to care about right-wing authoritarianism, or am I off topic with that? Am I on?
No, I'm saying any topic.
Oh, okay. I was specifically saying bad suggestion when you gave the example of. I don't want to use the wrong words. You didn't say exactly right-wing authoritarianism. What was your words that you used? Just to.
I don't remember. Maybe right-winger or something.
But something to the effect of right-wing authoritarian takeover.
Sure.
I think that was what you said, and that's when I said bad suggestion.
Because
I think there is a goal when you have a conversation about that. It could be to raise awareness. I think there's some boundaries where objectively something's already bad. You don't have to reanalyze it from the roots. You don't have to go. You don't have to figure out that's bad all the way from the beginning. Kind of like your example.
See, Ray, I don't know. I do not know what you're talking about. I made the claim that if you want to have a good conversation that's, without emotion and triggering and staying objective, it is better to care less about that topic.
Then fine. In most cases, I would agree.
Okay. But in what cases would you not agree?
Then you gave the example about the left. Don't worry about the right wing authoritarian takeover, right? Something to that effect. And that's why I wrote bad suggestion. Worry about it. Care about it. You can have a conversation about it, but you don't have to have that conversation without caring about that. I don't see the benefit of that in the long run. I think it's objectively bad to have right-wing authoritarian takeover.
Okay, but if you want to have a conversation with someone in the short run, I'm saying that you almost have to have I know this is very difficult, but you almost have to have the attitude is, I don't care if a dictator takes over the world and kills me. You have to be almost dead inside, completely dead inside, to not let these emotions take you over. Because if you really fear something, it's going to take over your thought process.
Fear is bad.
We evolved this way.
I keep thinking about this conversations that Liz Cheney has with people. She's as right-wing as you get. I think she's right-wing Christian. And even when she talks about the right-wing authoritarian efforts of her party, she cares. She can care at the same time, have objective conversations.
Yeah, I'm saying it's possible. It's just it's harder.
Have you seen her talk to anybody about this stuff?
About what stuff?
Republicans, right-wing authoritarian.
Yeah, I think I've listened to some of her stuff from the January 6th hearings.
Okay, that's good. Have you seen her talk to anybody lately about it after she's out there promoting her book?
No.
Okay. All right.
But why are you scared of right-wing people? Or are you?
Right-wing authoritarian.
Yeah.
We've seen in history right-wing authoritarian governments. They can be obnoxious to deadly.
Okay, so deadly. What do you mean deadly? They're actually going to kill you?
I'd say yeah, or lock you up. Basically, very oppressive to the point where people are getting hurt or killed.
Now, do you think you personally would be locked up and killed from a right-wing authoritarian?
Given the videotapes of our conversations, maybe a few. There might be some evidence out there.
The right-wing authoritarians love the Jews. You're Jewish, right?
Right-wing authoritarians love the Jews. Where'd you get that from?
Well, it seems like they're defending them in the Congress.
Oh, you mean the current right-wing authoritarians?
Yeah. Yeah, in the United States. I'm not talking about Hitler. He didn't like the Jews so much.
No, they like Israel. They want the Jews to go to Israel so they can bring on the apocalypse.
So do you think if, let's say, do you think Donald Trump's a right-wing authoritarian?
Oh, hold on, my computer just froze. Hold on, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to do something to my computer. I hope it doesn't disconnect.
Ooh.
Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Can you still hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Your question was, do I think Donald Trump's a right-wing authoritarian? Was that it?
Yep.
Yes, not Christian. Takes advantage of Christianity. Takes advantage of.
Okay, that's all. You answered my question.
But not. He's right-wing authoritarian, not, like a narcissistic way. He just wants authority.
Okay, you answered my question. Do you think if Donald Trump became president, there's a greater chance that you'll go to jail or die?
Maybe. Depends on
really?
the response. Yes. Also, I think there's actually, I don't even think about those two first. I think there'd be a greater chance of me losing my job or not being able to get another job at NASA.
Oh, because he would cancel that program.
No. He was going around trying to do loyalty oaths with people in the executive branch. And this time around campaign, he's talking about cleaning out the quote-unquote deep state and putting in loyalists. So people like
so you think that
with different political views would not be welcome in his government.
So you think that because you're compared to the executive branch of the White House or the Congress, you are nothing.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
But you think he would start asking loyalty oaths of low-level NASA employees? I'm not saying you're low-level, but...
No, I am. I'm low-level. Yeah, I think he doesn't want anybody in any government level who would not be loyal to him, or at least somebody who doesn't support, his authority.
So anybody who disagrees with him, you think, and works for the government, you think would be fired?
Would be at higher risk.
Okay.
They would definitely feel insecure. And if word got around, maybe they would. Or maybe moved off and then eventually forced, like say, here's a choice. You could we're relocating your job to Arizona, God forbid. And you could either move to Arizona or... Uh-oh, where'd you go?
You're back.
Okay.
Okay, I strongly disagree with everything you're saying, and I would be willing to wager a lot of money to show you my confidence. In fact, I've already wagered money with several people that Trump, if he runs against Biden, will win. So let's say that's true, and that happens. I will bet you money you will not lose your job because Donald Trump gave some type of loyalty oath, and you disagree with him. And yeah, I'll bet you a lot of money. And I'll bet you even more money that he won't kill you or put you in prison.
Oh, no, the people who go to prison and right away will be his political opposition, which he's talking about. He's saying it openly. We'll be investigating.
Yeah, they should be scared. Yeah.
You don't find anything bad about that?
Well, it depends if they've done something wrong or not. If they've done something wrong, then no. If they haven't, then yes.
Have you listened to the way he talks about investigating and locking those people up? It's not like, I'm your retribution. I'm it's all about retribution. It's not about did they do something wrong.
This is a new topic, by the way, for people following along at home. But
let's go
no,
for a moment.
I think the original topic is done. You have this fear that of loyalty oaths, losing your job, and for some people dying. Oh, and Ray just died.
Where are you?
You're back. Why do you keep? What's happening there? Why do I keep losing you?
That wasn't me that time. That wasn't me.
That was me. Are you at work right now? No, you're not at work.
Yeah, I'm taking a 10-minute break.
Maybe NASA's pulling the plug on you for talking to me.
No. Okay.
Yeah. See, NASA is the authoritarian right now.
There you go. There you go. Again.
NASA doesn't want you talking to me. Speaking of authoritarians.
This is also a new format for you. I'm on 2 windows at the same time. Can I get rid of one of these windows?
Yeah, maybe that's the problem.
How do I do that? Let's pop out. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Yep, you're here.
He pushed people out of their jobs during his presidency by moving the jobs. And one of them I know for sure was picked because she was doing an anonymous podcast, which is okay. You know, if you have a government job and you just don't say that this is I'm X, my name's Ray, I work at the government. You can still do public political opinions, but they found her out. They said, okay, you know, we can't legally just fire you, but we're gonna move your job. Do you want to move? No? Okay, then you're gonna have to quit.
And you're scared something like that would happen to you?
It could happen to many people, yes.
But you're scared it's going to happen to you?
I'm scared it could, not would. It depend on how open I would have. I'd feel uncomfortable about being open about my beliefs. Yes.
Do you think that happens right now? That let's say when now that Biden's president, that some right-wing people are scared that will happen to them?
They might be scared, but I see no evidence of Biden having done that. Where I have concrete evidence that Trump did that.
Trump fires low-level people like you?
He moved jobs to force people that he didn't like out. Yeah.
Okay.
Low level.
Okay. And
low level. I mean, like.
And there's nobody here.
VA.
And would you say that never happens on the left?
It might, but I don't have the evidence supporting it. If you have the evidence supporting it, great.
Well, I'm just thinking it's likely that Biden has actually, I don't know, shuffled things up, and some jobs were destroyed or no longer exist because of his preferences. Is that not fair to say?
I'd say that's true for certain appointments. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not talking about political appointments here.
Okay. I think we've discussed this to death already. You have these fears. I don't.
Even after he says all these things publicly, you don't think that it could get worse than what he's describing? You think it's just those...
Tell me what I should be scared of.
Well, what's the worst right-wing political government in history?
Right-wing?
Would it be Nazis?
No, I wouldn't say they were right-wing. Went to the Socialist Party?
That's just a name.
Okay. See, we're going to disagree on everything. So how do we move forward? I don't view...
Were the Nazis against socialism? Let's put it that way. How about that? Were the Nazis against socialism or pro-socialism? They were against socialists and communists, right?
Well, they're against communism, but I would say that Hitler had way more social programs than the United States that does. Didn't Hitler basically make it his goal to put people back to work and through government intervention? This is so boring to me. Like we're trying to go back into history, and we disagree on some very basic things.
You're back.
We can't keep doing this.
No, I know.
You leave and come back, leave and come back. So I'll just let you go. Ugh. But this is what I'm getting at. When you have this fear that if a certain person gets into power, you're going to lose your job, you're going to go to jail, or you could die. How can you think clearly at that point? This is supposed to be Theist Thursday, but it's not going to happen, I guess.
Well, if you just add an A, then it's Atheist Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't seen you in a while, and I was thinking about you because someone doubted you. I made the claim that some atheists are okay with babies dying even after birth, and I thought about you. And this other atheist said, no atheist would say something like that or something to that effect. And he wanted proof that you exist. So whoever said that to me in the comment section, here's sample pack. Are you okay with a 10-day-old outside the womb being killed?
Yeah, in the abstract I am, but like I think that there's generally like better solutions, like putting them up for adoption. So.
Okay, nice save.
You're not getting any feedback, right? Because I have you on speaker.
No feedback. You're good.
Okay. I was going to ask you. I don't know if you want to talk about the Peter Boghossian,
sure.
Nathan thing. Like, it was just a brief question. Did you think that Peter was like justified in basically? It felt like he repeatedly called Nathan like dishonest, and I don't know that. I mean, maybe it's my history with Nathan, but like I just don't feel like he was acting in a dishonest way.
So your question is, do I think Nathan was acting in a dishonest way? No.
Do you think Peter was justified in thinking that?
No, but I would push back that. Like, did Peter actually say he was dishonest or that he just doesn't trust him? Because I remember him saying he doesn't trust Nathan.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go back and rewatch it but it seemed like there was a couple of accusations of
called him a bad faith actor, I think.
Bad faith actor being either stupid or dishonest or something like that.
The problem here is just I, as an observer to that conversation, they were not communicating to each other, obviously, and I think Nathan's problem is he is a nuanced, detailed-oriented personality type, and Peter isn't. Peter's like headline, 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 and then start diving deeper. He's more like me, but I know how to communicate with Nathan, and I don't think Peter can. Well, I think he can, but Peter's not dead inside like I am, so it affects him, and it causes him to make mistakes. So that's what I think was happening there. Hang on, I'm going to close my door. My son just got home from school.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
Do you think that Peter? I guess I would be curious on the list of people that Peter has invited, as well, of people to talk with.
I could probably get that for you, because I'm friends with Reed. Good friends with Reed, and Reed is there's another person. Because I've been invited to talk with Peter on his show, and I said no. Well, I didn't say anything, but in my mind I said no because I think it would be boring, because I think we agree on too much.
Yeah.
I guess I could go on and talk to him about this sort of thing, like to try to encourage Peter to get in a room with some like Nathan, and have Nathan's try to trigger him and just practice being dead inside.
I feel like Cosmic Skeptic would probably talk with him, because Cosmic Skeptic has done those talks with the other Christians, the Cameron Bertuzzi's and those guys. I guess it was kind of unclear like who he's targeting on the left to like want to talk with, like because there's like the Young Turks people, but like the problem is that like his overlap in different like internet communities is kind of vague, right? Like the SE community is kind of like this branch off to the side. So like where is his influence and where is his topics that overlap with other communities?
I think he's willing to talk to just anybody at this point. But like people like Nate,
big enough channel. So he wanted people on the left with big channels.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Because then that gets him more reach as well. But like I think Nathan's problem is he wants Peter, like Nathan is so terrified of right-wing propaganda, misinformation, right-wing this is bad, blah, 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 vaccine hesitation or denial. All these things, it's so important to Nathan that if he talks to anybody other than the people who kind of agree with Nathan, then he's a bad guy. And that's where I disagree with Nathan. I say, like, who cares if he's talking to right-wing propagandists? Like, well, what's the problem?
I don't think that Nathan fully feels that way. I think that it feels like, and I think I agree that Peter predominantly talks to these people and is in some way like, not necessarily being used, but like the amount of people that he's talking to that have these perspectives, it feels very one-sided, where the street epistemology kind of mindset, I think, was, or at least like what Peter's purportedly trying to do is trying to be like, I wouldn't say unbiased, but at least to present both sides a little bit more.
Well, when you're doing spectrum street epistemology, you really don't have any specific goal to truth. Your specific goal.
Well, I don't know if that's the spectrum ones that Nathan really has a problem with. I think it's more like being at these different conferences.
Oh, going
over to Hungary and talking with all those people.
Yeah, that's because Nathan fears like Ray said, authoritarian dictator types, and so therefore, if you're seen with them, Nathan does have that woke aspect in him that you're guilty by association, or there's more of a chance you're going to be like them someday in the future if you keep talking to them.
Yeah, I think if there was more of an evenness on representation of people on the left in Peter's presence and channels, then maybe Nathan wouldn't have as much of a problem. But because it seems like it's mostly people on the right, I think that's where he's having more of a problem.
But why is that? Like, okay, Peter has certain stances on certain things, and so he gets invited by people on the right. Let's say he did a 180 and flipped his stances. Would he get the same amount of invites from people on the left all of a sudden? I say no.
I would say no, but because the left aren't as much of grifters as the right wing.
Oh yeah, I'll tell that to Young Turks.
Yeah, I mean, they might be the exception in some way. I know, but yeah, I don't know, maybe, and you might disagree with like how much you think that like the Daily Wire and Jordan Peterson are grifters, but
Well, what do you mean by grifters?
I think a lot of times what they're doing or saying is not necessarily something, like they do it for the money first and then their views follow second.
Okay, is that bad?
Potentially, but mostly, yeah, I think that.
Well, potentially anything could be bad. Oxygen could potentially be bad. Water can be potentially bad, even though we need it. I mean, like this is. I've been accused of being a grifter too, even though I've said many times.
I accuse you of being a grifter because you don't like. You're not interested in the money, right? So you're not.
Well, but I'm not against money. Like if someone donated $1,000 to me right now, I'm not going to refuse it. And I show my gift tip jar through Amazon gift card.
Out, like for speaking fees, and all that sort of thing, right?
But even if I were, what's the problem with that? Like, let's say I decided for the next year, I'm going to go from place to place, do the tour thing, speaking against my definition of wokeness, saying how bad it is for society, and people paid me $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a gig. What's wrong with that?
So it's still not a grift for that. I think it becomes more of a grift when, like, the money and your views are like either potentially opposed or there's some kind of like con to it where you're like pandering for the money, right?
Pandering?
Yeah.
You mean advertising? I mean, it's a fine line. No. You could say that about all capitalism, really. I have this product and I think you really need it, and here's why, blah, 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 blah. Even though those reasons are kind of true, they're kind of, you could still go without it. That's capitalism.
Well, yeah. But like, obviously, like capitalism allows for grifting. I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
But like, take that you mentioned the Daily Wire. What are they doing that's bad, in your opinion? Like in terms of this grifting thing.
So I think that they are either like, I think that they're presenting an extreme version of reality that isn't accurate to it, and I think that they're presenting that extreme version in order to rile up a base and earn money.
Okay, and what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with earning money, but when...
No, riling up a base.
So when you're, I guess when you're not presenting the truth, right? When
okay, good. And I agree with you. Now, then it comes down to, are they saying something factually false?
Well, I think that they know what they're doing is more extreme than like what their own like values, like their own perception of reality and what they present as reality are at a mismatch. And I think that what they present,
but is that opinion or is that fact?
It's my opinion that I think.
Yeah, see, this is where we need to separate facts from opinions, and there's actually far fewer facts in the world than people admit. Much of this is opinion. So if people at the Daily Wire have this view of reality of the world that you think is wrong, can you factually back that up? Because, for example, if they make fun of a far left-wing woke person who's like crazy and da-da-da, well, it's factually true that they reacted this way, they're saying these things, and they're looking really stupid from many people's viewpoints. Now, is it factually wrong in the sense that it's a reflection of all reality? I don't think Daily Wire is making that claim.
But what I'm saying is that I think that like Ben Shapiro's own personal interpretation of what reality is, and then what he presents as reality are two different things. So I think that he presents a more extremist view than his own perceptions of reality are in order to make money.
Okay, but then in order for that accusation to be true, you would have to get in his mind and really snuff out what is his view of reality.
Well, I can never know for certain, but I can try to glean some insight into those thoughts based on either things that he said in interviews or other things like that.
Yeah.
So obviously I can't, if I was in his mind, then I could have more certainty, but I can't know this for certain, but I can, this is my assessment of it.
Yeah. There's,
I'm not claiming certainty. I'm claiming this is my perception of it. This is my understanding.
I've listened to guys like Ben Shapiro for years. There's very few things I disagree with him on. Can you think of one off the top of your head that he said that, like a claim, not just a subjective, here's how I feel things should be.
Did you watch the Matt Walsh thing where he was talking with Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan is like, how many trans people are there out there getting these surgeries? And Matt Walsh is like, oh, there's millions. And Joe Rogan's like, really? There's millions?
Yeah, he was wrong, Matt Walsh.
By a factor of 1,000, right?
Yeah, but what does this have to do with Ben Shapiro?
Well, so they're on the same. They're both on the Daily Wire, right?
Guilt by association.
Well, no, I'm just saying like this is like I was originally making the claim about Daily Wire.
Okay, I see. I got you now. Okay, now I agree.
That's one thing. Obviously I don't spend hours and hours watching the Daily Wire and all that sort of thing.
But I do think that if Matt Walsh was presented with evidence, he'd say, "Oh yeah, I was wrong there. It's not millions. It's probably closer to thousands." Then what?
But in some sense, he has a responsibility as someone already pushing like anti to be like have done that research, right? He had a whole documentary, like hour and a half long, about the whole issue, and he doesn't know this basic number. That's pretty surprising, right? So obviously the purpose of the documentary is to exacerbate the issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure if that's like he could have truly believed that and been factually incorrect. So I wouldn't jump to the conclusion that he kind of knew it but he says it this way to rile up the base. Like that's a big claim that I don't think you can demonstrate. But I just think he was wrong, and people are wrong all the time. Now, I think people on the left get really upset when people on the right are wrong about something because they will say, but look at the damage it does, right?
I think you give him more
grace,
benefit of the doubt, grace, than possibly.
Now, I would do this to someone on the left too, because I don't care that much. Once you stop caring, you can actually give grace. It's kind of ironic.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it is. I guess like in some sense, like my thought on what the grift is like pushing a kind of propaganda, which is false, in order to make more money than just presenting like your whatever you actually perceive the reality to be. And I think that, I mean, I don't keep documents of evidence, that does all this stuff because I don't care very much, but, Yeah,
like a lot of people who are against misinformation, this is the big concern that it's going to hurt people. It's dangerous because it hurts people. And
I think it does hurt people.
Yeah, okay, fine. I agree. Sometimes it can, does, will. But the thing is, a lot of times what people view as misinformation is actually right and true.
Sure. I mean, there's obviously, you can misdiagnose what is misinformation, right?
This is why I support people like Matt Walsh saying millions of, what did he say? Millions of people go through transitioning surgery or something.
Something like that.
Actually, worldwide, he might be correct. But in the United States, definitely is incorrect. But I'm okay. Yeah. I'm okay with that in misinformation because a person like you can go on, and other people can say, "No, here's the evidence. This is factually incorrect." And I think or the reverse could happen.
Yeah, the thing is though that like, have you heard the phrase like, a lie travels halfway around the world before the truth puts its pants on?
I've heard it now. I think I've heard it in the past. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like that, where it's like it takes a lot longer to debunk something that is false than to say something that is false, right?
Yeah, I understand that, but the problem is, who's the arbiter of this truth business? Like, if it would have to be the evidence, and we have to really work hard at separating facts from opinions, number one, and that's really difficult to do. Like, is it a fact that socialism is better than capitalism? Like, anybody who says yes, that's a fact, is an idiot. Anybody who says capitalism is by fact a better system than socialism is an idiot. Like, you have to separate facts, opinions. There's different contexts, different countries, different ways of doing things. But I say if someone even wants to say the earth is flat, let them say it. That's misinformation in my opinion. But but then you can at least have other people say, no, and here's why. Is it a fact that if we dig a hole and we put a stick in there and we measure the angle and then we go 100 miles north and it's a different angle, is that a fact? And then what best explains that? A flat earth or a spherical earth? And then you can have those conversations.
Right, but I guess, so maybe the question would be to you would be like, is it worthwhile to push against that misinformation? Because you seem relatively like you're not. It doesn't matter to you, right?
Well, is it worthwhile? That's such a very subjective question, right? It depends. Are you talking to me? Is it worthwhile for me?
Yeah, you personally. Yeah,
and it depends. And it depends. Is it worthwhile for me to debunk a flat earther? No. Is it worthwhile for me to debunk Matt Walsh saying millions of people have transitioned surgically? No. Although I do it. I do talk about it.
What misinformation would you want to push back against? I mean, obviously your channel is very anti-Christianity, but I don't know if that you consider that.
Well, if someone puts on social media that I'm a Christian, I'd push back on that. It's factually incorrect.
Sure.
But there's like how much worse can you get from flat Earth or I could say Donald Trump is a dictator and he's going to take over the world if he's elected. I could say that's misinformation. Right?
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to figure out like what are examples in the world of things that you feel like it's worth your time and effort to push back against.
I think in general, free speech is something to push back against for me. So if someone is against free speech, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But would that be a misinformation situation, or how?
No, that's an opinion. I think in my opinion, free speech is more valuable than other things, or the benefits of freer speech outweighs the risks of disinformation. So, but that's my opinion.
Oh, I guess. Sorry, I think I didn't frame my question right. My question was: Are there cases of misinformation or topics of misinformation where you feel like it is worthwhile to push back against that misinformation in some kind of active way?
Yeah, I'm sure there's many, but I can't think of one other than just. I basically, if I see something, I say to myself, "That's incorrect."
Right.
Sometimes I'll push back, sometimes I don't. And you're asking me, well, what? Yeah. Why? I don't know.
Like if it was a medical thing, do you think that you would want to push back against it? Like someone says, like, "Oh, you should drink small amounts of bleach to do X, Y, or Z." Would that be like a case where you'd be like I would, and like it starts to go all over social media or something?
I probably would say that's wrong, but I'm a big believer that if someone's stupid,
would you inform your son or your family? Like, let's say your son comes.
Yeah. But for the general public, no, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe that's a good like barometer, right? Like if your son comes to you or your daughter comes to you with some kind of misinformation that they've heard from social media or something like that, it sounds like you would probably correct that pretty readily.
Well, and again, even then, it depends on what it is. Like sometimes my daughter comes home and talks about Harry Potter, and I'm like, I can't believe someone said this about Harry Potter. That's wrong. And I could even agree with her. Who cares?
Yeah. But I mean, I guess, Harry Potter is obviously very fictional, but I'm thinking of things like in the real world, or like if they said something about financials.
It's real if it's in here.
Yeah.
But you would have to propose something to me, like in order for me to say, okay, would I push back?
Yeah.
Like I'd give my opinion many times. Like for example, the vaccine thing,
sure.
The COVID vaccine. I will still say if you're under 40 at least, it's a bad idea to have gotten the vaccine or get the boosters. The risk reward's not there.
Do you feel that in some way, like just speaking, like you're having your channel and speaking to the world as much as your channel affects
the world 170 people.
In some way that is your in some way you're pushing back against what you perceive as misinformation, right? Whatever you're saying is the truth according to Doug, right?
The truth according to Doug, yeah, who's read the studies, yeah. Or not,
right.
Not all the studies, of course, but
so in some sense, like everyone's speech. Oh, is it fair to say that whatever speech one makes is in some sense like a fight against misinformation?
Yeah, whenever people disagree. But again, it's very important to separate facts from opinions. And I think people mix that up all the time.
Yeah. But like, in that sense, like, do you think that it's worthwhile to continue to say like, well, what is your, like, you know, SE questions, like, what is your confidence in this? Is this like, how much of a fact is your opinion in some sense, right?
Yeah.
How much evidence do you have supporting your opinion, right?
Yeah, and that's why I support betting, because that's a great representation of confidence when you put your own money on the line.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Well, good conversation.
Okay. Good to see you again.
Yeah, I went through a big move halfway across the country, so.
Oh, from left to right or right to left?
Well, politically, I'm still this.
Geographically.
Yeah. I went from New Jersey to Nebraska. So.
Oh, it had to be because of a woman. You wouldn't do that of your own free will. Oh, a job?
No, I did it because of finances. It's just way cheaper out here.
Okay, before you go, let me say you're smart. All those people who live in California, Oregon, Washington State, even Washington, D.C., New York, New Jersey, and you complain about the rent and housing prices. Okay, listen to me carefully. You get all you complainers out there about how expensive life is, and you live in those states, you're stupid. Do what Sample Pack did. Move to Nebraska. Move to South Dakota. Move to North Dakota. There are places in this beautiful country of ours that are much more affordable. And if you whine and complain about how expensive your life is, that's your fault. You take responsibility for being stupid. Get up, move your butt, and move like Sample Pack did. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, rent is half the price out here, and the drinks are probably even less.
Yeah, but Doug,
my brother,
these small towns, they don't have Starbucks, Doug.
Oh no, we've got all that. Don't worry about that. Yeah, my brother came to visit from Phoenix, and he was like, I just got a drink for as like for $5. I would normally tip for $5. He was like,
yeah. And the thing is, even if the United States gets to the point where it's too expensive to live, even in Nebraska, move to Thailand. Like,
yeah, I mean, Thai looks like a complicated.
This is what capitalism is. This is what competition looks like. If housing and food, different resources there's competition. Move to where it's the cheapest. If you don't have money. And if
actually, I would love to talk to you sometime about gentrification and your thoughts on that, because I imagine that you have a lot of thoughts on.
I love beauty. So if someone can come in and make something that looks ugly, make it look better. Again, this is opinion based. I'm all for that. Yeah,
because I would imagine that we probably have a similar. Because I've always had a problem with gentrification, because in my opinion, anyone who's complaining against gentrification is really just complaining against capitalism.
And they're complaining against beauty. No, it's feel sorry for them because it's going to raise the prices and push people out, right? That's the real reason why people are against it.
Yeah, but like, so my opinion is that like it doesn't happen on like a collective basis. It happens on like an individual decision makers along the way, right? Like as an individual selling a house, an individual buying a house, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
So like you can't really blame anyone except for maybe like the local city government or something. But even then, like if you start restricting certain things, then yeah, I think it would be nice if we fixed some zoning across the country where we could have more mixed zoning, stuff like that.
And people need to take responsibility for their reproduction, which is the biggest reason why people are poor. Even if you're stupid, even if your IQ is 85, as long as you don't have kids, and you are willing to live in places like Nebraska, and you take up a job with Burger King, and you're willing to live in a small apartment, you can actually save money, and you can save your way to the middle class existence. This is what makes this country beautiful. Yeah. But if you make stupid mistakes, like you start smoking cigarettes, and that's a tax against the poor, and you have kids that you can't afford, yeah, you're going to be poor for the rest of your life. But guess whose fault it is? Yours. I just ticked off so many people on the left. Anyhow, I gotta let you go. I got 2 more people on.
No worries. Talk to you later.
See ya. Your fault. You're poor. Okay, I gotta do something here. Matrix, I can hear you. I guess you got to catch up.
Yo, can you hear me?
Barely. Can you speak up a bit or move closer to the mic? You're very, very quiet.
Is that Bo?
No. Try again.
Yeah, I'm trying to tie myself up. So.
Yeah, I can barely hear you. Are you on your phone?
No, laptop.
Oh, you're on Apple. Oh yeah, terrible product. Why don't you just ask your question? I'll listen very intently and then I'll let you go. Or you can try calling back. I don't know if Apple.
Do you mind if I try calling back in like
Sure.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Right, thanks.
Okay. You sound like Jack Sparrow. Are you by yourself? Like, can you really yell? Or talk really loudly?
Yeah, sure.
There you go. That's better. Yeah, just really use your stomach muscles. Project like a vocalist. Okay, what did you want to talk about?
Yeah, is it still Theist Thursday, or we're not doing that anymore?
No, that's Theist Thursday, but so many, people are not theists and they want to call in and talk to me. Atheists love me for some reason.
Yeah, yeah, we all love you.
Are you Jack Sparrow?
No.
Are you drinking rum?
Sorry, say that again?
Are you drinking rum? That's Jack Sparrow's favorite drink.
No, I don't drink.
Okay. You're a Muslim then?
No, I'm a former Christian.
Okay.
Yeah, I still believe in God though. That's why I'm calling.
Oh, okay.
But I don't like saying that because to believe in God means you show it in your lifestyle, and I don't show it.
You don't show it in your life.
Yeah, because the people you say they believe in God, but like they act just like an atheist. They don't live it. They're not practical.
Yeah, so you're an atheist who is scared to admit you're an atheist.
No. No. I'm not an atheist.
Yeah, you are. Because you said yourself you don't live like a God exists.
Oh yeah. But like it's the best explanation for the universe, like the mind behind it, right?
That's an opinion, right? We were just talking about facts versus opinions. In some people's opinion, an intelligent mind is the best explanation. In other people's opinion, it's not. And you could probably give evidence to support intelligent mind. I could give evidence to support just random chaos.
Yeah. I see. Yeah. I still don't want to call myself an atheist. But
Why?
Yeah. I don't know, because I was taught to believe in God, all my life, So I just don't, because I'm with you in the stance of religion is mostly on experience, right? Like, I listen to a lot of debates and I think to myself, what's the point at the end of the day, right? Because it's based on experience. But it's like my experience my whole life has been there is a God. So, and,
you want to give an example of an experience that makes you think a God exists?
You mean like a miracle or something?
Or just anything, like you got like warm, fuzzy feelings. Is that what makes you think God exists? Did you see someone rise from the dead? Is that why you think God exists? Do you look at beautiful sunset and that's why you think God exists?
Nah, probably because of like logic, reason. Maybe because like it gives people hope and stuff. But I'm not really a hopeful guy. But, I wouldn't mind if a God didn't exist. Like I'm not the type of guy who, because I used to be a Christian, but I'm not the type of guy who like fall on my knees and start crying if I found out it was false.
May I ask why you left Christianity?
A couple reasons. I did something Jesus asked me to do, and I didn't get the outcome I wanted. I guess maybe that's the most important reason.
Jesus asked you to do something, you did it, but you didn't get the outcome you wanted, and you left Christianity?
Well, that's one of the reasons. If I were to talk about all the reasons. And the other one is probably like you, I'm not sure if I want to live forever. I think me and you are one of the few people who don't really care about eternal life.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Also, I have the same problem with you when it comes to like morality, like how if God created the universe knowing who go to hell, heaven or hell, why would he still create? I think that's the argument.
Yeah.
But there are some Christians that I tell people all the time, you don't have to believe God is all knowing. So maybe that helps it.
Or just say don't believe in hell, believe in universalism. There's many ways out of that.
Yeah, but you think, because you mention that all the time, so you think that's the best reason why you're not a Christian still, right? Because he created the universe knowing what happened.
Yeah, that's basically the problem of evil. I think that's a good argument against the Abrahamic God. But against Christianity specifically, the core proposition is that a man was God and rose from the dead. That's basically what being a Christian means. If you believe that and you follow him, the evidence doesn't support that claim, not even close.
Yeah. Then I've got a question for you, because I remember because I've been watching your videos recently. I remember one video you said the evidence isn't very good, but it isn't horrible. It like hovers there, like in the middle. It might have been years ago you said this, or you don't remember. But you said it kind of hovers there in the middle. It's like, and I was thinking once you said it, maybe that's intentional. God is not.
I don't remember saying that. I remember saying something like, maybe you are thinking about this. Like, I do think the evidence for Mormonism is better than the evidence about Mormonism is better than the evidence about Christianity, like traditional Christianity. And that's why it's so easy to reject Mormonism, because there are more specific claims and specific evidence. With Christianity, you can't falsify it as easily, nor can you defend it as easily as some Mormons. Like, for example, Mormonism has signed signatures of people who says, "I saw the golden plates."
Yeah, I looked into that a bit. Sorry to interrupt you. Didn't some of the people who said they were witnesses and signed it, didn't they recant it? Like, what's the word?
Yeah.
Go back on it.
They recanted, I think, some parts of it.
I think a lot of them recanted some of it.
There are reports of some people recanting and then coming back. Some people recanting, but only recanting certain parts, but not all of it. So, like, if I was a Mormon, I could easily defend, but they recanted. Well, not so fast.
Yeah, I don't know too much about Mormonism. I actually decided last week I'll probably read it one day, the book of Mormonism. For now, I'm just gonna I'm actually gonna start reading the Quran next week.
But let's get back to why you think a God exists. You said it's because it's the better explanation is that there's an intelligent mind behind it, right? That's what you said?
Yeah.
So when you see the vastness of the universe and nothing but empty space, not hospitable to life. Even our own planet is not that great at supporting life. Can't really be at the equator, can't be at the poles, can't be in the water. We got to wear clothes. We got to have air conditioning. We got to have heat. 90% plus of all species that ever existed has gone extinct. You think there's an intelligent mind behind that?
I mean, it's possible that, I think, like you say all the time, it's possible God exists, he just doesn't care. He just created the universe and he just left it to it.
I respect that.
Possible. Yeah.
That's a good answer. Like, maybe a God exists and he actually loves to watch people suffer.
Yeah, that's possible. Anything's possible. I mean, I think you say all the time, right? Just because, like, even if you get God, that doesn't automatically mean you get like heaven or hell. I mean, that makes it more likely there's a heaven and hell if God exists, but doesn't automatic. Like, you know, God could exist and he might be evil. For some, that's the better explanation for the universe, right? Because of all the evil we have around us, or he just doesn't care. Or
okay, well,
but you know.
Okay, I like your answer there. How would you answer this? I know certain things exist. I can say I know the material exists. Could we be in the matrix? Yeah, but even within the matrix, we've been programmed to know certain things exist. With that we call material, atoms, protons, electrons, all that sort of thing. Do you believe this God that you still believe exists is physical? Natural?
You mean like, what do you mean by that? Like, has a body?
Yeah. It's made up of atoms, some type of material stuff.
I'm not sure anymore because I used to when I was a Christian. Right? I think the Bible clearly teaches God has a body, you know, made up of spirit. I love your reaction because
Jesus had a body, but most Christians would not say God is physical. God the Father.
I think the Bible teaches God was made up of spirit, and you know.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I'm getting at. Now, can you tell me what a spirit is without telling me what it's not?
Spirit. What about telling you what it's not?
So in other words, I'm going to ask you, what is a spirit? And you're going to say a spirit is, and don't use any words that start with I or you, like un or I, like immaterial. You can't say immaterial because that's what it's not. Tell me what it is.
Are you asking my opinion or what the Bible says?
Your opinion? No, I don't care about the Bible because we're talking about deism here. Really, we're talking about you believe a God exists.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if he's. Sorry. I was about to say I believe a God exists, still, but whether or not it's made up of spirit or something, I don't know whether or not it's physical.
Okay, can you describe anything about this God?
No. If I'm not a Christian, no. I don't know. I mean, he has to.
Other than a creator, you would say he's a creator.
Yeah, and when he created, he had to put logic and reason and, you know, law of nature.
You've been influenced by those precepts. I can tell.
So wait. So is it possible? I mean, it's also possible that God exists. God created the universe. He didn't put all of that in there. Or is that what you think? Or?
I didn't understand what you said.
Know, so, wait, I don't understand your point. You're trying to get me all the way.
I'm asking you. I'm not making a point. I'm asking you. Describe this God, other than a creator, because you said it makes more sense to you that God created everything than.
Okay. Here's what I can tell you about this God for sure. If there's a God exists, he lets things happen. He lets things happen, even bad things happen.
Okay, so he creates, but he's non-intervening after he creates.
I'm not. He might intervene, but like he lets. I mean, it's clear that he lets bad things happen.
Okay.
Maybe he intervenes sometimes, but he lets bad things happen.
Is there any way one could falsify this claim that God created the universe? Or do you view it more of a default position that's just like a brute fact and can't be falsified?
I'm not sure. I think it's just based on my experience. I think even like I don't think you can prove or can't prove it. I think it's just based on my experience.
I'm getting a little annoyed with you because when you say you believe this God exists, but it's based on your experience, he doesn't intervene, he lets things happen, but it's based on your experience. Like, what experience are we talking about?
Oh, I told like this is what I was taught growing up and stuff. People around me.
No, that's not an answer. Give me a specific answer, not just people around me. Why do you think this God exists? Because people around you?
Yeah, this is what I was taught growing up, right?
Okay, so you're just saying, I believe God exists because of indoctrination. Is that what you're saying?
I mean...
And I thought that was about Christianity. But I'm just talking about a nebulous deistic type God. What experience have you had to make you think that that God exists? Not the God of Christianity.
I guess I could say just that I'm here, right?
Okay.
Just that I'm here.
Existence.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you imagine you existing and no God existing?
Yeah.
You can. Describe that world for me. So God doesn't exist.
Yeah.
How does existence exist?
What would it be like?
How do you exist if God doesn't exist?
So you think if God doesn't exist, the world would be like where it is right now? Exactly like.
Yes. But I'm asking you, do you think that? Or I asked you, can you imagine that? And you said yes.
I can't imagine that. It's just that the good arguments and bad arguments. You know, design argument. There's the moral argument. I know you don't like the moral argument, but I think that's a good one.
Okay, can you be me? Because it sounds like you've listened to a lot of my stuff. I want you to be me and I'll be you. But you go first. You're me. Tell me why you don't like the design argument. Pretend to be me.
Okay. Okay. You'll probably say something like, what would the world be like if it wasn't designed? Like, how would it look? Like, something like that.
Go on.
What about all the things that are poorly designed? You know, you have animals killing each other. You have the fact that people are born with all these mutations and
good.
And I think there's even a blind spot in our eyes. Like, a lot of atheists like to use that point that how we've got a blind spot in our eyes that our brain just like tunes out or something, and we're not as peakly designed as some think. And
you're doing well. I say one more thing that's very important, that in order to recognize design, you need to compare. Yeah. So how do you know something's designed? You compare it to something else.
Yeah.
But in order to compare it to something else, it's like the watchmaker thing, right? You see a watch line on the sand. Yeah. A theist will say, well, look at that. It's obvious that's an intelligent mind made the watch. But the problem is, they would also say an intelligent mind made the sand that the watch is sitting on. So if everything is designed, then how do you recognize it as designed? Ooh. Profound, right?
Yeah.
Now, let me be you. I mean, let me be the theist. Well, it's just obvious that there's an intelligent mind behind the creation of our universe because, number one, of the fine-tuning argument. If our Earth was just, a mile closer to the sun, there'd be chaos. We wouldn't support life. Everything about the rotation of our planet, the location from the sun, even going into atomic level, the gravitational, the nuclear force that keeps the nucleus of an atom together, the charge of an electron, it is so fine-tuned for life. You change it just a little bit, and odds are we're not here. This screams of an intelligent designer. And what else did you say? Design. Yeah, that's good enough for the design. And then now you said the moral argument. Tell me, you be me. Tell me why the moral argument for God is horrible.
Okay, because you like to say things like it's based. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I actually love when you say this. I can't lie. When you say, "Oh, so what?" You know, so what? Like every Christian, every Jew, every Muslim will say, atheists can still be moral without the belief in God. Doesn't matter if they can't justify it. You know, like how does now knowing your morals are justified in the grand scheme of things? How would that change your life in any way? You know, so what? Society, you know.
Well, no, there's a formal moral argument for God. Do you know how it goes? It's only two premises and a conclusion.
No, remind me.
Okay, so premise one goes something like, if there's no God, there's no objective morality.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Premise two is objective morality exists.
Yeah.
Conclusion, God exists.
Oh.
So be me and destroy that argument.
Okay. You'll probably say something about, what if this God says what we believe to be wrong now right? You know, he changes it. For example, murder. What if this God says murder is right now? Are you gonna murder someone? Would you say something like that?
Well, you're alluding to it. Like I wrote it down here. I don't know if you can see me, but and my handwriting is atrocious. I could have been a surgeon.
No.
You're challenging premise two. What makes you think objective morality exists? Now, William Lane Craig was asked this question by a famous philosopher. You know what his answer was? It just seems to me.
No.
It seems to me like it exists. I mean, it just feels like it. That's the best answer a theist can give on why they think objective morality exists. Because it just really seems that way. It just really seems that killing Jews during the Holocaust was really, really bad, wrong. It just feels that way. That's the best they have. But what the point you brought up was a good one, and I do say that, like even things like slavery. You take everybody who's against slavery today, you push them back 4,000 years ago and ask them the same question. I'd bet money that 99% of them would say, no, slavery is okay. It's not objectively wrong. So it is time dependent. It is subjective to the context. So I would challenge premise two. But even if objective morality does exist, you need to define what objective morality is. So let's say this thing exists, but what do we mean by objective morality? And most Christians and Jews and Muslims will say objective morality is God morality.
Yeah.
Like, what's the difference between objective morality and God morality? They say nothing. It's the same thing, because God is the basis of morality. He is the foundation for morality. It's outside of human feelings and experiences. It's wrong because of the nature of God. So now, that's a problem for this argument, because what you're really saying is, if there is no God, there's no God morality. God morality exists, therefore God exists. That argument doesn't sound so powerful anymore. It sounds like a tautology. It's just like saying, if Doug doesn't exist, me, then Doug arms don't exist. Doug arms exist, therefore Doug exists. Oh, powerful argument. You're listening, William Lane Craig, how easy, like a goofball from Manitoba like myself can just destroy your argument.
So what argument do you think is the best for God? Or you think they all like...
The best arguments for God are the ones that appeal to emotion.
So experience. And
but like if you're just talking about a nebulous deistic type God, I would say the argument from beauty. because it pulls on people's heartstrings. You see a beautiful sunset, you see the beautiful stars, you see child prodigies singing beautiful songs, you see beautiful artwork. It causes a chemical reaction in your brain that just makes you want to believe and feel that there's a God out there. Now that's because when you ask me what's the best argument for God, that's a very pragmatic answer I'm giving that is going to be effective. You think people believe in God because of these moral arguments, theological arguments? Sure, some do, but most of them it's because of these personal experiences, even tragedies and suffering that they've overcome because they believe God has helped them through it.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of what you said, how most people are Christian or Muslim is because they feel they need something helping them greater than themselves, right? But like, you know, if you don't have for example, a father, this God can come along and replace them or something like that. But,
hey, Matrix, I gotta let you go. I got other people who want on.
No.
But I enjoyed talking to Jack Sparrow. All the best to you and your ships.
Hopefully we can talk again sometime. I've got more questions.
Can you imitate Jack? Can you imitate Jack Sparrow? Johnny Depp?
What do you
Try.
want to say?
What does he say? Say, have you stolen my rum? Where's my rum? Say that in a British accent, like Jack Sparrow would.
I'll try. It's gonna be bad though. Have you stolen my rum?
Not bad. Not bad. Okay, see ya. Julian, you made it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
All right, sounds good. How are you doing?
I'd say about an 8.
Nice. Out of 10?
Yeah. How about you?
Probably about the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if we can bump each other up.
Okay, sounds good.
Do you want to talk about God, Jesus, Allah, Mormons?
Probably just theism in general. Probably just God. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you a theist?
Yes. Yeah, I would consider myself a theist. Yeah.
But you're not a specific theist? I mean, you're just a general deist type theist?
No, I'm a Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
For how many years?
I grew up as a Christian.
Okay, so you don't remember a time when you weren't?
No, I mean, I guess about a year and a half ago, there was a couple months where my faith was really, I had a lot of doubts.
How long ago?
Maybe about a year and a half ago.
Okay, that means you're 23, 24?
I'm 21.
Oh,
so that's
21.
close.
Yeah, you started early with your doubts. Okay, usually it's between 18 and 22.
Is it? Okay.
And I guessed you were doubting at the last half of that stage, but you were okay. Gotcha. What made you doubt?
Well, so I grew up Catholic, and I went to a Protestant university, and so I got into different theological debates about different doctrines, and then I started researching it, and then I kind of as I was researching it, I thought, well, why believe that Christianity is true at all? Why believe any version of Christianity is true? So then I got into debates on resurrection and on the existence of God. And so that's kind of where it started.
Did it make you stronger as a Christian, or are you still in this doubting stage?
I would say it's made me a lot stronger as a theist, but not stronger as a Christian.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
But you still call yourself a Christian?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard a hesitation in your voice.
No. I mean, if you ask me, like, on a scale of 0 to 100, how confident I am in theism, it'd be somewhere in the 90s. But if you ask me how confident I am in Christianity, it's more difficult to answer. It'd be quite a bit lower, probably anywhere from 60 to 80, depending on the day.
Well, how confident are you on specific propositions of Christianity? Do you believe a man rose from the dead 2,000 years ago who was God incarnate, died for the sins of the world, bodily rose from the dead? Where's your number for that one?
I think that'd be 60 to 80 because that's just entailed by Christianity.
Okay, good. I was just testing you. So you're 60 to 80 because why? Like, why aren't you like in the high 90s like you are with theism, with the resurrection?
Because with Christianity, really, it does come down to if Christianity is true, then if the resurrection is true, then Christianity is true. Now, there are other ways of kind of making arguments for
Christianity. I hate that phrase.
But that's kind of, what?
What you just said, I hate that.
Making arguments for Christianity?
No. If Christianity is true, if Jesus rose from the dead, Christianity is true. You know why I hate that phrase?
No, I don't.
Because it's so meaningless. It's like saying, if Jesus appeared to Joseph Smith and presented a new gospel, then Mormonism is true. If Allah actually talked to Muhammad in the cave, then Islam is true. It's just, if pink fairies can give me $1 million or gave me $1 million, then it's true I have $1 million. I mean, it's just a useless tautology to say that. And I know Michael Licona says this, Gary Habermas says this, but these are such stupid things to say. Anyhow, I'm done.
I don't see that as stupid because all I'm pointing out is that if Jesus rose from the dead, then that entails Christianity is true. Now, the entailment's pretty obvious, but I don't see.
I know it's such an obvious entailment that you're really not saying anything.
Okay, I mean,
you're basically saying if it's true, I'm wearing glasses, then I'm wearing glasses. It's as stupid as that.
Well, no, that's just a total tautology. This is more. I don't know if there's really.
If Christianity is defined as a man rising from the dead, and you say if a man rose from the dead, Christianity is true. You're doing a tautology.
Well, Christianity being true has other entailments as well, though.
Like what? Nothing bigger than the resurrection of Jesus. Paul says himself, if Jesus didn't rise, then our faith is in vain. We're to be ridiculed as, what did he say? Basically, idiots.
Yeah.
So I plead to guys like Michael Licona, Gary Habermas, if you ever hear this, just know that I'm sure I'm not alone in this. That's the most ridiculous, stupid thing you can. A Muslim could say that. A Mormon could say that. A Hindu could say that. If Vishnu provided the Vedas, then Hinduism is true. I mean, it's just.
Yeah,
it's silly.
I mean, all of those are true. I
know. Okay, but sorry for. I just had to give my piece on how stupid that is.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I think I would want to focus more on talking about theism in general. If you want to talk about Christianity, we can do that too, though.
May I ask why you want to focus on theism more than Christianity?
Because I don't know if it's because I'm more confident in it, but I guess it's mostly because that's the kind of thing that I want to get better at articulating. Like that, yeah. Theism, like arguments for theism is what I want to get better at articulating, more so than arguments for Christianity.
Yeah, I would. The reason why I ask that question is because I think for most Christians, they rather not talk about a defense of Christianity because it is harder. I think. Let me ask you: do you think it's easier to defend theism than it is Christianity?
Yes.
Yeah. So you want to go the easy route. You don't want to go the tough route.
Well, I want to start by defending theism. Well, I mean, part of the reason that Christianity is trickier to defend is because Christianity entails theism is true. But theism doesn't entail.
But so does Hinduism, so does Islam, so does Judaism. A lot of religions entails theism is true. You right?
I mean, yeah, but I don't see that it's relevant.
Well, if there is no God, Islam is false. If there's no God, Judaism is false. If there is no gods, plural, Hinduism is false. Like I could say the same thing about any other religion, that it entails a God. So you're not really saying that anything that amazing. The real question is, if there is a God, why would he desire to come down in flesh and raise and be killed and raised from the dead? That's the interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just want to talk about general theism, my guess is you want to talk about the design argument, the fine-tuning argument, the moral argument, the ontological argument, all those types of things, right?
I mean, I don't think any of those four. More contingency or kind of consciousness, but yeah.
Oh, contingency argument and consciousness. Okay. Flesh out the contingency argument for me.
Well, I think it begins from kind of the basic question. Well, I shouldn't say, I don't know, not basic in the sense of easy, but kind of a question everyone has. Why is there something rather than nothing?
By the way, my goal here is to make you better, not to create doubt. So I'm going to help you become a stronger theist.
All right. Sounds good. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think it starts from the question, why is there something rather than nothing? Why should contingent things exist at all? And if you're going to explain why things exist, as far as I can tell, you really have three options. There's either an infinite chain of regress, an infinite chain of explanations, and there's nothing beyond that infinite chain. Or there's a chain of explanations that terminates in just a brute fact. That would be a fact that there's no explanation why it's true. It just is the way it is. That's it.
Okay, which one do you choose?
Well, there's a third option.
Okay.
Would be that it terminates in something necessary, something that is sort of self-explanatory.
Okay.
And so I think that would be the third option would be theism.
And this is why the contingency argument fails, because ask me why I think there's why naturalism is true. Or no, you started with a different question. Why is there something rather than nothing? That's the question you asked. Okay, ask me.
Okay, why do you think there's something rather than nothing?
I'm a naturalist, and my answer is brute fact.
Okay, so you would take the second one. There's some sort of chain of explanations that terminates in a fact that just is the way it is, and that's it.
No, is that answer satisfying to you?
No.
Okay, hang on. I love this. This is a bit of a trap, and I ask you nicely to walk into it. Why does God exist? Why does God exist?
Well, because so if you're going to go the third route of there's something necessary, whatever it is that is necessary, has to be. It cannot have any of the qualities that would make something contingent. So it cannot be composed of any parts.
Okay, summarize that. Summarize everything you just said. Why does God exist? Because.
Well, because he's absolved of any feature.
Because he's property starts with N.
Contingent. He's necessary.
He's necessary. Now ask me why the universe exists. Because it's necessary. And I asked you if that was a satisfying answer to you. You said no. What if I said your answer to why God exists is not a satisfactory answer to me? What now?
I get where you're going.
Yeah. See, here's the problem with the contingency argument. Anything you say about God, I can say to the universe. The only difference is there's not this idea of a spiritual disembodied mind. So basically, we can throw the contingency argument out the window. We can spit on it.
I wouldn't say so.
Why not?
Because if you say the universe is necessary, I'm assuming by the universe you mean
the cosmos,
the totality of all things that exist.
Yeah.
Is that
all material things that exist? Yeah.
Okay, all material things. Does that mean that you think there are things that are not material, or?
No, I'm just making that distinction in case people want to say, gods are in there. But yeah. So basically, I'm a naturalist. So doesn't mean just, and this is what really frustrates me. Like when theists or Christians in particular will say that our universe had a beginning, like they do realize.
Well, I'm not talking about a beginning.
I know. You're not saying this, but I'm just telling you, it bothers me when they say, well, it's obvious our universe had a beginning, and they assume that means it came out of nothing, and that there was nothing prior temporally before that, that there aren't other realms of naturalistic existence. I mean, I call those theists stupid as well. And there's a lot of them who say that, like even Frank Turek and other like top level apologists. Yeah, they say stupid things like this. Anyhow, is it safe to say we're done with the contingency argument? Because anything you say, I can say about naturalism.
No. I think this is where it gets interesting. I think that the reason you can't say the universe is self-explanatory or is necessary is because the universe is composed of things that are contingent. And I don't think there's any way you can combine contingencies together to get something that's necessary, because it's always going to be contingent on the parts that it's composed of.
That's like me saying a house can't exist because it consists of bricks.
No, I'm saying that the house cannot be necessary because it's contingent on the things that compose the house.
But I'm saying the totality, that the universe, the cosmos, has just always existed into infinite past, just like God.
Well, I don't have a problem saying the universe always existed temporally. I have a problem saying that the universe is that the universe is necessary, because the universe is dependent on anything that exists that is composed of something else.
Dependent on what?
Dependent on whatever it's composed of. Well, the universe is composed of planets, stars, people, animals. So it's dependent on those planets, stars, people, and animals. Because
it's dependent on the universe.
No, it's dependent on the things that compose the universe.
Why do you feel the need to pick out that it has to be dependent on one little aspect of the universe? Why can't you just say it's dependent on?
No, it's dependent. It's dependent on each thing individually.
What is dependent? A certain thing within the universe, you're saying. But I'm saying the whole cosmos is necessary. It is necessary, and it changes form. It's not unchanging like God. So it changes, but the existence of the cosmos is necessary, has always existed in the infinite past. And sure, things within the universe can be dependent on one another and can change form. But that doesn't, just like God changed form, he came as a man.
Well, so are you
saying Jesus is not dependent on the Father?
I don't know. I mean, it depends what you mean by that.
See, that's what you're doing. You're saying there's certain things within the universe dependent on each other, so therefore it cannot be necessary. It is still contingent. Well, Jesus was dependent on the Father. He came to do the Father's will. He was dependent on God the Father. So are you therefore saying God's not necessary?
No, I'm confused on what you're saying.
I make an analogy of your critique against the necessary component of the cosmos. I'm using that same critique against your God, because I could say your God has attributes that are dependent upon each other, like God the Son coming in and doing the will of God the Father. There's a dependent relationship there. And so if you're going to critique my worldview, saying, well, it can't be necessary because it's made of components that are dependent on each other, I can say the same thing back to you. Right?
So it seems like you're talking about, it seems like you're talking about Jesus and his human nature, which would be contingent, because it's he's composite, he's composed of body parts, composed of will, intellect. Yeah, so that would be a contingent entity.
So then, does that mean God's not necessary?
No, it means Jesus' human nature is contingent.
Yeah, and I can say the same thing. Cosmos is still necessary, even though a planet might be contingent upon the sun, its star. It's the same analogy.
But if the universe itself is necessary, do you think that each individual entity within the universe is necessary?
In a way, but no, I take that back. I say no. I would say only in the.
What does that even mean that the universe? What does that mean then that the universe is necessary?
Okay, what does it mean?
Each entity isn't necessary.
What it means is that the question that you started with, why does the universe exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? The answer to that question is because it just is. It's necessary. It just always was.
That sounds more like a brute fact than necessity.
Well, I think those are very, very similar, very interrelated.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So notice that's the same answer you would give on why God exists. It's just, he just always is. There's no reason why God exists. He's just, other than he's necessary.
Well, the reason God exists is because God just is, his essence just is existence.
Yeah. The reason why the cosmos exists is because it just is.
No, but you can't say the cosmos's essence just is existence.
Why not?
Because it's composed of different parts. Its essence is much more.
God is composed of different parts.
No, he's not.
Different attributes.
No.
No? I disagree.
No. Well, you don't believe in God, so I don't understand.
No, your concept of God is composed of of attributes, right? Like all loving, all powerful, all knowing, came as a man to the planet, even came as a fire in a burning bush, if you're a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim.
Well, each of those attributes, the tri-omni attributes, those would all be, really, those are describing the same reality. When I say that God is loving, I don't mean that God is loving in the same way.
Different solar systems, different planets just describe the same reality of the cosmos.
I don't know what you mean by that.
I'm just parroting exactly what you say about your God. I'm saying about the cosmos. You're saying that the different attributes of God, the way this God expresses himself in reality, like a burning bush or God the Son, Jesus, they're really the same thing. It's just an expression of the ultimate reality of God. And I'm saying planets, stars, even sentient beings within it are just attributes of the brute fact that the cosmos exists.
I don't see how that's analogous to what I'm saying.
Well, of course you don't, because if you did, this argument would fall flat for you and you would have to start at square one. There's incentive for you to deny what I'm saying. If you actually listen to what I'm saying,
well, that's just
without caring, try this. Who cares if God exists? Like, be dead inside.
Okay.
Don't give a crap about God. Don't even give a crap about this argument. Who cares about this argument? We're just like two robots talking about this argument. Can you see the parallel I'm making between the cosmos and God? They're both necessary. Why does
I see that?
Okay, you see that.
I understand what you mean by that. I don't agree with it, but I understand what you mean by it.
Okay, so you see that. Okay, why don't you agree with it? Because of these component parts.
Because the universe is composite. It changes. I guess those two. Yeah.
Okay, but you believe God created the universe that changes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what you saying you disagree with it because the universe changes, yet your God created the universe that changes. So why can't I make that same critique back on your God? I don't believe your God's a necessary being because the universe changes.
No, but God doesn't change.
Oh. You sure about that?
Yes.
He's not a personal God then.
No, well, he is personal, just not in the same way that you or I are personal.
Do humans change?
His motive. Yes.
If God's a personal God that interacts with humans, wouldn't God change in accordance to humans changing?
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by interacting with humans.
Like if I'm sad,
I wouldn't say that.
Then wouldn't God change in how he would interact with me compared to if I'm happy?
No, I don't think that God. Are you familiar?
You're saying God's dead inside?
No. Are you familiar with like the different views of God, like classical theism versus like a neoclassical theism or a theistic personalism?
Okay, even if I grant you that God's unchanging, how does that change? What does the unchanging nature make the cosmos less necessary?
Less necessary.
Like what does this changing part have anything to do with necessity?
Because if something changes, then there has to be something. So if some entity changes, then it was caused to change by something else. And so it can't be necessary because there has to be dependent on something else for it's changing.
So there can't be certain parts within the necessity that change and the whole part still be unchanging. Like, for example, I'm Doug, PineCreek Doug. There's things changing in my body all the time. I'm still PineCreek Doug.
Yeah, but you're not necessary. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just making a very simple point that you can have the totality of me stay the same, but parts of me change.
Yeah.
Depending on, what aspect you're looking at. Okay. So I still don't see how, even if God was unchanging, which to me makes him an impersonal God, if he interacts with changing humans, then I don't see how changing has anything to do with it. Because I can just say that I could just say that the universe exists. It's necessary for the universe to exist, but within it, it interacts with each other. The parts within it interacts with each other that change. Why is that unreasonable?
Well, sorry, say that again.
Why is it unreasonable to say that there's parts within the universe that change, but the totality of the universe, the cosmos, its existence is still necessary?
Because I'm not even sure what that means to say that the totality of things is necessary without saying
it's the same thing as saying God's necessary.
In that totality. No. How can you say that the totality of all things is necessary without saying each individual thing within that totality is necessary? Because you said it wasn't. Okay. How can that be true? Because it seems like
how can it be false?
If you say that the totality of all things is necessary.
Yeah.
So totality of all things is necessary.
The universe, this is what I mean by totality of all things, the cosmos.
If you remove any entity within the totality of all things, it becomes something different. So it is contingent on each individual entity.
No, I disagree.
Totality.
It doesn't change the totality of all things.
So then what about it is necessary? Because the way it is
its existence is necessary.
That's
what's necessary. Its existence.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I still don't know what that means exactly. But do you want to move on to something else, or? We talk about consciousness.
I got other people waiting. I'm just wondering how much. Can we instead go into Christianity?
Sure.
Okay. Do you doubt that Jesus rose from the dead?
Yeah, there are times when I doubt it.
Why do you doubt it?
I don't know. I don't think that there's a super strong, purely historical case for it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not as familiar with other religions as I would like to be. Yeah, I don't know.
When you say that it's not when you say that there's not a super strong case that Jesus rose from the dead, like, don't you admit there's eyewitness accounts?
Well, so I said there's not a super strong, purely historical case that Jesus rose from the dead. So the kind of case that, I don't know, Lacona or Craig or Habermas would make based on eyewitness accounts. I think that that's helpful, but I don't think that alone can get you to Jesus rose from the dead. And I actually think that your flying man thought experiment illustrates that pretty well.
Okay. So then why do you believe it? Like, why would you even be at 60%?
Because, well, so there is the historical case, which, helps somewhat. And then there's also, I think it's more likely, if Christianity is true, then it's more likely that Jesus would be the most important historical figure in the world. And yes.
I really don't like when you say if Christianity is true. We're trying to figure out why you believe it's true in the first place, right? So
Well, that's just Bayesian reasoning.
Why do you believe Christianity is true?
Because of different pieces of evidence, like the things I just mentioned.
Piece of evidence one, what is what?
I would say Paul's conversion, Jesus being the most, important historical figure in the world, the way that Christianity has influenced our.
Okay, you're listing a whole bunch. Let's take them one at a time.
Yeah.
Do you really think Paul's conversion is a good reason to think Jesus rose from the dead?
By itself, no.
What, like, in the pie chart of reasons, would you give it like 1%, 10%? How important is that?
I mean, it's somewhat arbitrary when you start assigning numbers, so it's difficult. But I would say it's, I don't know, maybe 10 to 20% of my reasoning. I don't know. something like that.
Would you say that, like you said, on its own, it's not sufficient? But
no, not even close.
Is it not even close?
Yeah.
So Paul's conversion is not even close to being sufficient to believe Jesus rose from the dead. Okay, what's the second thing you had?
Well, you talk about the way that Christianity has influenced Western ethics.
Okay, stop there. Influence of Christianity. Mm-hmm. Could a false religion exist that greatly influences societies?
Yes, but it's if there is a true religion, then it's more likely that it would have a positive influence on society than if it were false. Sorry, I didn't say that.
Could a false
if Christianity is true? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to steelman you. You're saying that if Christianity were true, it would impact societies even more so than a false religion impacting societies in a positive way.
Most likely, yes.
Most likely.
This is not a deductive argument. It is a probabilistic one.
So you think if a man rose from the dead bodily, if that were true, it would increases the probability that Christianity would have a positive influence on society?
I think that if Christianity were true, then if God became man, then it's very likely that the movement that he initiated would have a positive impact on society. Yes.
Okay. Do you think Christianity has a negative impact on society?
In some ways, yes.
Like?
I think the way that a lot of people teach kids about like hell, I think is borderline child abuse.
Teaching kids about hell.
Yeah. And depending on how you go about it, yeah. That's one way. It's been used to justify killing heretics. It's been used to prevent scientific inquiry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
probably
I agree with all that. So you've now given a list of negative things Christianity has produced in society, but you're just saying the positive things outweigh the negative.
Mm-hmm.
And because the positive outweighs the negative, it's more likely it's true.
Yes, that would be one piece of evidence that it's true. And this piece of evidence by itself is also not sufficient to prove Christianity is true. Or
and
to prove it's more likely.
Right, okay. But you would be consistent. You would say that would be true of any religion. As long as the positives outweigh the negatives, it's more likely it's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm open to saying that most ancient religions have a lot of truth to them, and they are genuinely pointing towards a true reality. I'm not going to dismiss Hinduism or Sikhism or Buddhism as just pagan nonsense. I think that that is a genuine way God works through the world.
Okay, so let me propose something.
A genuine way that people discover God.
Okay, I understand. I understand your explanation. I really do. But let me propose an alternate one. You tell me what you think of it. That societies, people looked at the world around them. They're trying to make sense of it. They see, okay, if I do this, this is bad. It ends up 9 times out of 10 causing bad things to happen. So they write in a book that God said not to do that thing. Because pragmatically, it ends up helping societies. More times than not, it's a good thing not to do. Like, let's say murder or steal. Don't do that. Because we look around and it just doesn't lead to good benefits in the long run. So I would propose that's an alternative explanation, that it's not that it's more likely a man rose from the dead and it's that Christianity is true. It's just that people assigned things that have worked in the past to this God saying it. And that's that. Mm-hmm. It could be Christianity could be 100% false in terms of its core propositions, yet say things that do indeed help society. Like give to the poor, help the poor, don't murder, don't steal. Isn't that a good explanation?
So really my argument has nothing to do with whether you can or can't explain it. It's about which is more likely. And I'm also not talking just in terms of like the influence of Christianity. I'm not talking about Christianity as a set of rules. I'm not saying that that is what's had the most influence. I think that the proposition that we are made in the image of God, and there's different analogous things that are present in other religions as well that are similar. That because of that, because we are made in the image of God, there is an inherent value in humanity. And I think that is what's had a huge impact on our sense of ethics.
But it seems like that hasn't stopped religions who believe we're made in the image of God. It hasn't stopped religions from killing each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand what you're saying. In a sense, I agree with you. Like, if I have some type of intangible inherent worth, then it's badder, it's worse to kill me. But it seems like that didn't stop Muslims from killing Christians, Christians from killing Muslims and Jews, and around, and Hindus. Yep. Around and around we go. So I don't know how effective that is. See, I don't think we do have inherent value at all. I think our value comes from what we do. And people hate hearing that because some people are good at nothing, and so I'm basically saying their value is less.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think that's an extremely evil ideology, extremely evil.
But I bet you I could get you to agree with me. You know how?
How?
Okay. Imagine a terrible person. Let's be very specific. Who do you hate more, murderers, rapists, or pedophiles? I guess rapists are pedophiles. Pedophiles is a good one, right?
Pedophiles, yeah.
Yeah, so imagine a 40-year-old man. No, imagine a 52-year-old man who has raped little children many, many, many times. Okay, I've never done that. You have to just take my word for it. In fact, I haven't murdered, I haven't raped, I haven't done any of those things. And I ask you,
that's good.
God himself says one of them has to be destroyed, either me or this pedophile. Who are you going to choose?
Like annihilated?
Yeah.
The pedophile?
Yeah. Why?
Because he has a greater potential to cause harm.
Yeah. You valued my life more than his, based on what he's done. Not because of this inherent image of God business. You value me more than that pedophile, correct? That's why you saved my life.
In some sense, sure. But I would also say that there is an intrinsic value to. Fine.
But I'm doing a relative analysis here. You value my life more than that pedophile's. Now let's do something less extreme. 85-year-old grandpa and a 25-year-old young father just got married, has his first child coming. And I tell you, God said one of them has to be annihilated. The 85-year-old or the 25-year-old? Who do you choose?
The 85-year-old.
Why?
Because he doesn't have as much responsibility to a family.
Right. He's lived his life. His kids are now old and probably independent. People are less dependent on him. He's a great grandpa and he has great stories and memories to share. Yeah. But if we had to get rid of one of them, you value that 25-year-old young father more than the 85-year-old. These are realities. These are truths I'm giving that a lot of theists hate to think about. But we automatically place more or less value on people.
So are you trying to show that the only value you have, or the value you have is... No.
Whenever you don't even have to finish your question. Whenever you say the word, are you saying the only? I'll just say, because that's a very absolute thing. I'll just say no. I'm not saying it's the only.
Well then, okay. Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying then before.
What I'm saying is there is a distribution graph of value of human beings. Not all human beings are, number one, created equal, and not all human beings are, after they're created, are equal. Not even close. There are some humans more valuable than other humans. And this is very icky for people to hear, but it's the truth. Sometimes the truth hurts.
So how does that refute what how does that?
It refutes that. It actually pushes against this idea that we're all created in the image of God, and therefore there's this hidden assumption there, and therefore we're all of equal value. That's what I'm pushing back against.
Oh, I never said we're all of equal value.
I know, but there's assumption there. So let me ask you: do you think all humans are of equal value?
In what sense? Like, value in what sense?
Okay, that's a good response. In terms of who lives and who dies.
In terms of who lives and who dies.
Think about the rowboat experiment. There's only so many people who can fit in a rowboat. Some people have to be thrown over. Who are you going to throw over first, and who are you going to keep? Do you believe that we're all equal and all deserve to be on that rowboat? You're a philosophy guy. You must have heard this one before.
No, I mean, I actually haven't heard this one specifically, but I would say, no, I don't think each person's life is equally valuable in that sense. So if that's what you're saying, then I would agree with you. But I don't think that, and I guess this isn't what you were saying, but it's what I thought you were saying before, is that your value is entirely determined by what you do. I would disagree with that.
I wouldn't say entirely. Like, there is other components of value of humans other than what they do, and for example, like what they can potentially do, so they haven't done it yet, and just certain. This is going to sound so crude, but there's value in a kidney. So if you're like a vegetable, you don't do anything, and you will never do anything, but you're still living. You have value in that you can actually save the life of someone else through your organ donation.
So are you a utilitarian?
I lean that way, yeah, but not. I'm a consequentialist, but I'm also like 5% virtuist. I mean, people are complicated.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But the main thing I'm pushing back on is this, what you brought up, that we're all created in God's image, and there's a strong implication there. Like if I just say, well, so what if we're all created in God's image? How would you answer that? What does that even mean? Who cares? Why should anybody care about we're all being created in God's image?
Because it means that we all have an inherent value. We all have an inherent
right,
kind of
and that's good. But
an orientation towards.
But that value is different depending on the person, which I think I got you to agree to. So if we're all created in God's image, but yet our values all range, like some people have very little value in society. So what does it really mean to say that they're created in God's image then? Like, so what? They still have low value. And some have very high value. This is why there's security guards protecting Biden wherever he goes, because he has high value.
I mean, that's not because you seem to be conflating different kinds of value. Because Biden doesn't have he doesn't have a higher moral value of his life inherently. It's only because of his position. It's only because of his position,
right?
Not because his particular life has an inherent value. That's more.
Okay, what do you mean by inherent value?
So, by a person's inherent moral value, I would mean that their value, apart from what they can do, apart from how they can impact the world, just them.
Like the value of their kidneys and liver?
No, because
you're not talking about that.
That would be extrinsic.
Okay, what is this value then? That it's not their organs and it's not what they do, what they could do in the future. Why does any human have value?
Because they are conscious. They can experience pain. They can experience.
Okay, so if they're not conscious, do they have less value?
If they're not conscious, I wouldn't say they have any value.
So you're saying a zygote?
Well, I don't know if I'd say that.
See, hang on. Are you pro or against abortion? Are you? Okay?
I'm against abortion, but not as strongly as like most conservative Christians.
Okay, because you basically put yourself in a tough spot if you were.
How so?
Because you just said consciousness is what gives people value. a 7-day blastocyst in the womb has no consciousness. Doesn't even have a brain. Doesn't have a brain. A 7-day blastocyst does not have a brain. You're saying that consciousness exists without a brain?
Yes, there's a kind of implied materialism here that you're getting into.
So you believe consciousness exists without a brain?
I don't see any reason to think that it couldn't, in principle. Yeah.
Okay, that's. Do you have any reason to believe consciousness exists without a brain?
Exists without a brain. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any reason to think it doesn't exist. It couldn't exist without a brain.
Do you hear what you're doing? You're saying, I don't have any reason to think it doesn't. So your default position is that consciousness can exist without a brain. That's your default. And you need evidence to prove otherwise.
I'm kind of more agnostic. I'm more agnostic on it.
Okay, if you're truly agnostic on it, then you would just say, I don't know. But you didn't say I don't know, did you? You said you said I don't have any reason to think it doesn't exist. That's what you said. You didn't say I don't know.
No, because I have reason to think that consciousness is not caused by a brain. But I don't know if it can exist where in a state where it doesn't correlate with it.
Wait, hang on. You said you don't have any reason to think consciousness is caused by the brain?
It cannot be. I positively think it is not caused by a brain.
What's it caused by?
I'm making a much stronger claim. What?
What's it caused by then if it's not caused by the brain?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Was it caused by? Like, where does it come from?
What causes consciousness?
I think consciousness is just. So I think that there's a kind of universal, like just totally simple consciousness, which would be God, and then there's.
So your answer is God.
We are dissociated. Dissociated consciousnesses from.
So what causes your consciousness is not your brain; it's God.
Yes. And this is where it's kind of a mystery. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah.
Well, I'm not exactly sure about consciousness either, because to me it's very crazy. But still, it seems like this is where we are different. My default position is the material is all that exists until you need to prove to me otherwise. Your default position is God, I think, and consciousness exists until proven otherwise.
My default position on consciousness is that without a doubt, I am conscious. I mean, it's just self-refuting to doubt that, because that's a conscious state.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I think any worldview that's going to try to eliminate conscious or explain it in materialist terms, I think should be disregarded. I don't think you can.
Why?
I don't think you can.
We're not saying consciousness doesn't exist, but you're taking it a step further. You're saying any materialist. Yeah, you're right. Some materialists do say that, but you're saying if someone gives a materialistic, naturalistic explanation for consciousness, they should be automatically disregarded.
I think that any account of consciousness that tries to reduce it to matter is going to be wrong.
Why? Why do you believe that?
Because matter fundamentally is that, the way I would define it, and maybe this is where we'll disagree, is that which can be described in entirely quantitative terms. So matter, you can reduce it to molecules, atoms, you can reduce it to maybe wavelengths. All of these can be described with mass, charge, spin, amplitude, frequency.
Mm-hmm.
These are all quantitative terms. You cannot describe consciousness in quantitative terms. It is impossible.
Because, well, why is it impossible?
Because consciousness is inherently it's a qualitative thing. We can sort of describe qualities using quantities, but we cannot exhaustively describe what it is like to be disappointed or what it is like to see red. That cannot be reduced to quantities.
Okay, so this qualia aspect you cannot. But yeah. What if I developed a machine that would predict what you're going to say before you say it 100% of the time? So describe how this peach makes you feel, and the person says, This peach makes me feel warm and reminds me of a summer of 1984. And basically, that quality experience, before you're even conscious of it, was exactly predicted because of this machine. Would you then say it's material?
Would I say that consciousness is material?
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Because
no. I mean, that's exactly what machine learning does. It's just predicting the next word.
But I'm saying it's beyond prediction. I'm saying it actually, with certainty, says what you're going to say before you say it, because it is linked into your brain before you're even conscious of what your brain is doing.
No, because I think it's possible and maybe even probable.
By the way, some experiments actually do this.
Yeah, I think it's totally possible and even maybe probable that brain states perfectly correlate with consciousness. But that does not mean that brain states cause.
No, I'm saying that because it's prior to your being conscious of it, that it causes consciousness.
Maybe I'm still confused on what you're saying, but I don't think that. It seems like
that the neurons firing is what's causing you to have this quality experience. That it precedes it. And not only does it precede it, but it can be quantified in the sense of predicting exactly what you're going to say, what that experience is going to be articulated as before you even are aware of what that experience is. Like it's like split second ahead of you.
I don't see this as anything to do with reducing consciousness to matter.
Because it is now. I asked you why it couldn't be explained by matter, and you said because you can't quantify it. You can't. It is this experience that you can't put your finger on. I'm giving you a hypothetical situation here where we have a machine.
Oh, okay.
Where it basically takes your reason for thinking it can't be material and throwing it out the window.
I don't think it is, because it would just be an algorithm that predicts what you will say. It's not actually having.
It's not predicting. It's measuring what your qualia is just ahead of time before you even experience it. And I think they've actually run this experiment, not to the detail we're talking about, but they've done this experiment before with certain binary questions, and the machine will know what you're going to do before you do it, before you're aware of what you're going to do.
I mean, the machine doesn't know anything, though. It doesn't actually have knowledge.
Sorry. The machine measures what you're going to do before you do it.
Does it figure it out based on your brain states, or like?
Yeah.
So you're like hooked up, like your brain's like hooked up.
Yeah, it's been a while since I read about this, but
yeah.
But anyway,
no, I think
I should let you go soon because I got other people waiting. But I'll give you the last word.
Yes, I still think that's just predicting what you're going to say based on your brain states. That has nothing to do with. That has nothing to do with reducing experiential states to matter. That has nothing to do with, you cannot reduce mental states to physical states. I don't really have much to say beyond that.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in.
Thanks for the conversation.
I hope I made you a stronger theist.
I hope I made you a stronger atheist then.
Okay, see ya.
All right, see ya.
Diego, what say you today? PineCreek, check out this fascinating interview when you have a chance. Annika Harris, Free Will, Consciousness, Nature, Reality, Lex Friedman. Okay. I'll copy and paste that. I like Lex Friedman. Can't hear or see you, Diego. Actually, you know what? I think this is a good place to end it off. Let me get the music going. Predictive awareness. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. There's a bunch of math in QFT before getting the probability amplitude. I thought at least some of that math. Oh, you're talking to someone else. There's people far, far, far more knowledgeable about these consciousness type studies. Hey Diego, I got the.
Hello there, Karud.
Good, I got the music running, but what did you want to say?
Last week you were talking about immigration. I don't know if you remember.
Oh.
You were making some examples from some poor Ecuadorian farmers. So I take it personally because I'm from Ecuador, as you know. But what I want to say about that is that you actually, I don't know if how aware if you are about immigration in the United States, but it's true that you have a system called lottery visa that is random. They take a chance on many people that describe on the system, but it actually is almost impossible for a normal person unless that you have extreme. What should I say? You have some skills that are essential to the United States so you can go. So for most people, there won't be any poor Ecuadorian farmers going to the United States unless they win this lottery visa. But
Wait, hang on. You said you came in, I had the music running, but you were offended by something I said?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
But I want to take your insight because I like what you say, and I want to compare what so I can so next time we can talk a little more. I don't know if you have ever seen a video about immigration about it's something about gumbas that is about poverty on the world and how United States take immigrants.
You're asking me if I've seen something about that?
Yes. I wish that you can try to check that the videos for next time, and maybe we can have some ideas about that.
Okay, let me open this up so I have it for later. Yeah, I got like some core presuppositions about immigration. Number one, it's not the United States' job to save the world. This offends a lot of people. Number two, nobody has the right to come to the United States who the United States doesn't want.
It was the second one, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, nobody has the right to come to the United States. The United States does not have the obligation to help anyone. When I say obligation, I mean they don't have to. And I think most people agree with that and say, well, it's nice to help people. But no, the United States doesn't have to help anyone. And so I think the United States is one of the best countries in the world to live in. And I think we should know every single person as much as we can who comes into our country. And right now, like in, was it Lukeville, Arizona? They're coming in by the thousands, and most of them are males between the ages of 18 and 30. This is really dangerous, and we don't have a clue who they are, what countries they're coming from, what if they have a criminal past or not. I think I implore people on both sides of the aisle saying we need to stop this nonsense. $61 billion has been asked to go to the Ukraine recently. We should spend that $61 billion. I did the math. We could pay 610,000 military guys, 610,000 military to be across our border and pay them $100,000 a year each. And anybody who crosses, just push them right back over. And if they put any weapon in, you kill them dead.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but you are talking about illegal immigration. So I was talking about legal immigration. So that's
but they're related because so much of the resources are done for the people who don't go port of entry route.
Yes, you're right, because you have to check that. You have to do many procedures, but I actually think that you are doing something bad when you take immigrants, because most of the times, legal immigrants, most of the time they are well capable citizens like you. So like you abandon Canada and they no longer tax you. So are you actually doing something good for the country? I mean, Canada is not poor, But if you were from South America, a poor country where you actually you can do a society better by staying there, are you doing something good if you go to a different country?
Yeah, well, I think if you let in poor people who are desperate, your main good reason for doing so is compassion. Because I don't think, especially in the short run, and when I say short run, I mean the next decade or two, those people are going to be a burden to society. They will be a burden. And so you have to do it for compassion reasons, say, yeah, we're willing to spend money and resources to help them. So eventually, maybe even the next generation, they will be productive members of society. But in the short run, if you strip out compassion, you would only bring in people who are highly skilled entrepreneurs, highly educated, productive members of society. Like, why would you do anything other than that?
I understand, but I am saying exactly that. If you do that, are you doing something wrong for that country? If you're taking the best people of Ecuador and they go to United States, are you doing something bad for Ecuador? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Yeah, you are. You are doing something bad for Ecuador.
Legal immigration is not so beneficial to poorer countries.
Like, I, in a way, did a horrible thing because when I graduated from high school, I got one of the most prestigious scholarships from the Canadian government. They paid me a lot of money to get educated in Canada for my undergraduate degree. And guess what happened? I left and went to the United States. All that investment they spent on me, poof, gone. Well, I shouldn't say all. I paid some taxes in Canada, but not much. Yeah, so I get the point you're making, that if we take just the best and brightest from other countries, you're hurting those other countries. But then again, I'm also a believer in freedom. And so if someone wants to move and people allow it, then yeah.
Yeah, I understand. So that's actually what my point, and thank you for taking me. And when you can, maybe you can check the video. That's all for today.
Okay, thanks, Diego.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
I wonder if Doug has actually discovered these arguments with people who understand these things on the other side. Discovered what? What arguments? Deepak, come on in. I blame Diego for this because I was about to close this live stream and then Diego triggered me with the word immigration. And if you're going to get me to be not dead inside, if you want me to get a little more human and emotional, immigration's the topic. Deepak doesn't want to come on, but he's going to come on. I love it. But I'll stand by that. There's no good reason to bring poor people into the United States other than compassion. Like, even the argument about lower skilled labor jobs, I think young people in this country should take over. But they don't want to do it, Doug. Yeah, we got to make them do it. Make these young teenagers pull weeds and pick corn and... We're both immigrants, right?
Yeah.
We're both citizens, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean we have to agree on everything, right? Hopefully not.
Well, no, I just like setting the stage.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. Wait. So, man, between you and Nathan, I don't think I'll ever get any more done. Like, both sides. No, but look, I mean, first, like you were saying something about like, oh, we don't like immigrants coming through the border through Arizona, and we don't know who they are, very dangerous and stuff. I mean, like, look, I mean, the statistics I've seen show that claim that immigrants like tend to, like, I just looked it up actually just now. Let me read out the exact word, exact phrase. They tend to commit crimes at lower rates than native-born Americans. Okay. I mean, there could be a bunch of reasons for that, right? But like
certain crimes.
Oh, I don't know about certain crimes. Let me look it up again. Like, I thought it's
because I've looked this up too.
convicted of crimes, incarcerated in prisons, or arrested than native born. I mean, there could be like, all sorts of.
Well, no, finish what you were going to say.
Oh, I was just reading it out. I was less likely to be incarcerated in prisons, convicted of crimes, or arrested than native born.
Okay, but then if you look at statistics of people who are already in jail, who already committed serious enough crimes to be in jail, look that up. Are they more likely to be immigrants in relation to the percentages? So, for example, let's say there's, 4% of the United States are illegal aliens into the country. Is the population of immigrants in jail illegal aliens more than 4% of the general? Because that's the general population. Okay. And the stats I've seen is, yes, that's true.
Well, I mean, the implication of this sentence, like they're saying less likely to be incarcerated in prisons, right? I think that means that it's less like the percentage, right, per capita is less. And this is like the Cato Institute, which is generally, it's libertarian, right? So maybe
okay, this is the government website. What is it? BOP? What does that stand for? Federal Bureau of Prisons.
Okay. Okay, so what are we looking at?
Inmate citizenship. Okay, so basically if you add up all these percentages other than United States citizenship, we got 13, 14, 15, roughly 16% are non-citizens in our prisons.
So we need to compare that against the percentage.
Okay, so now how many illegal aliens are in the United States? Some people say it's as low as 15 million. Some people say it's as high as 30 million. Let's say it's 30 million, the highest number.
Well, hang on. You have to compare against the percentage of... I mean, if you're going to compare this number to something, you have to compare it to the percentage of
non-citizens, sorry.
Non-citizens, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, also...
So that'd be illegal aliens and also green card holders and visas.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you'd have to compare against that, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there must be more than percentage of... I mean, if you're right, then you're right. Right? Percentage of aliens in the U.S.
Because if we assume that number is even 50 million, which I think is high.
Wait, so hang on. Percentage of aliens, percentage of non... I don't know, I'm not getting a number when I look this up. Someone in the chat maybe knows. Is it 13.6%? Okay, so maybe you're right. But that's interesting. That's aliens in general, right? Immigrants in general, rather. Oh, immigrants. Yeah, I don't know whether that includes illegal immigrants, whether it includes...
Like look at Mexico. There's a lot of Mexican non-citizens in jail. 8.3%.
But presumably there's a lot of Mexican people in the U.S. too, right? Legal and illegal, right? And
right, but is it more than it? Is this percentage skewed? And that's my point. Yeah.
I mean, well, look, the Cato Institute thing says it's not, right? Maybe they're
and this what I just showed seems like it is.
Well, okay, I don't know. It seems like, well, no, hold on.
And this data I just showed is from December of this year. This is like really up to date.
No, but hang on. It doesn't show that yet, right? We have to compare 5.1 against what percentage of people in the U.S. are...
Not 5.1, 13, 14, around 16%.
Oh, sorry, 8.3, I guess.
15.8%.
Right. So you have to compare that against the percentage of...
the number of total immigrants in the country.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I'm saying this, if it's 50 million divided by roughly 350 million is 14%. So, but I think that 50 million is a high number.
50. So you're saying it's 50?
Yeah, I'm just guessing because I don't even know nobody knows the right number because they're not documented. A lot of them.
But you don't have to know. You don't have to document. Like you can estimate by different other ways than just.
I know, but it's an estimation. Like we can't say we know.
Yeah. But then we can. Okay, but look, we can probably know whether it's 20% or 10%, right? And if you're comparing against 15%, the numbers.
But you can use that common sense reasoning to even who commits more crime in the United States, poor people or rich people? Come on, use your intuitions.
No, I'm thinking a little bit. Like the obvious answer. I know the obvious answer. It's probably right. Yeah. Okay. Sure. It's probably poor people.
Okay. So now let's use our common sense intuitions. If poor people, then might not be serious crimes, but let's just say crimes in general. And let me be very clear: rich people can commit the most heinous crimes. But if we're just taking quantity of crimes, poor people, I think we can show statistically commit more crimes than rich people in number. And then you ask the question, are more poor people coming across the southern border or rich people? Then you just use some simple logic and you can come from some simple conclusions.
But that's the thing, right? You're doing like what they call a one-factor analysis, right?
I know it's not nuanced enough.
Other things like cultural, like for example, right? Like when you look at immigration from countries like Guatemala and stuff, the crime lords, right? The people who are actual criminals there, like they tend to remain, right? The ones who like flee the country are the ones who don't want to be like caught up in cycles of crime and stuff, right?
Or
so that's my using that logic to say, oh yeah, they're going to be less likely to be criminals when they come in, right? It's just a different factor I'm pointing to. So it is really important.
Well, hang on. Most countries are against murderers and rapists, and if a murderer or rapist is about to be caught, why wouldn't they flee and have crossed our border? Isn't that a very common sense way to look at it?
They do better. A lot of them do better by staying in places like Guatemala.
No, but if they do better when they're not being caught.
They do better when but they're not going to be caught in a country like Guatemala. If you're a member of the right cartel and stuff, you are.
You mean because of briberies and stuff?
Well, I'm talking about places where law and order pretty much is completely collapsed, right? Like places like parts of Mexico, where like if you're a member of the right cartels, you're probably safer than it's just like being arrested is not your main concern. Your main concern is like some other cartel comes.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And so then it's more likely people who just want to flee that corruption will be crossing.
I think so. And to be fair, like again, this is totally anecdotal experience, right? But like being in California, like I've met like and talked with, and I just get this impression that like a lot of people who come over, maybe they're the ones who are more open about the fact that they're illegal, right? They're just looking for a life, man. That's all. Like like the guy.
I understand that. I understand.
House, right?
But do you agree with my? I get what you're saying. They're just looking for a better life. But do you agree with my presupposition that the United States, number one, has no obligation to help people?
Yeah,
and number two, that people who are not U.S. citizens do not have the right to live here. They do not have the right to live here legally.
Well, yeah, legally, yes, obviously you're true, right?
Yeah.
I guess the question though is moral. Is there like any kind of moral sense in which we have, like you brought up the question, like do we have like some sort of duty to people who aren't citizens? I mean, it's complicated. Like I think it partly depends on who we as like together. Like for example, right? Like I mean, I'm in favor of the U.S. like not having open borders, right? Like I don't think you and me are going to disagree on many of the biggest questions about immigration. Like I don't want open borders. I don't think open borders is good, but partly because I think it's a net negative for the world at large, for a country with like, good systems in place, like, a rule of law and stuff, to just get completely destabilized by like welcoming an influx of people, right? Like I think it's a net negative for the world at large, for the United States to have completely open borders, right? If I ever thought differently, right, I'd have a hard time justifying like not having open borders. If I thought that like if the best thing for the world overall is for like the good countries to take in as many people as possible, I might have a selfish motive to say, yeah, but I want to keep my country, like the United States, as like awesome as possible, so let's not let them in. But I'm not sure how I'd feel about it morally, right? Like because after all, like why do I have like when I think about like what my main concerns are, like my family comes first, like it's true for everybody, like my close circle of friends and so on. And then it kind of expands to like, for most people, like there is a sense in which like, the United States, the welfare of people in their country matter more than someone across the world, right? Like I don't deny it. I don't think that's evil or wrong or something. But for me, that difference is probably much less than like many people, I would say. Like I think that's actually a big difference between the left and the right. I think
it's the feel sorry for ism.
It's a feel sorry for ism, right? It's like feel sorry for ism, where the borders of feel sorry for ism are, right? Like, or where the borders of your concern are, right? Like you do care about the United States, and I care about the United States, and I care more about the United States than a random country in Africa.
So it sounds like you and I really don't disagree on anything on this issue. We both want to know who's coming into the country, right?
I think so. I think the country has like you said, like has a right to border policies, right?
So we're both against people just indiscriminately coming across the border and being let in the country. Okay.
No, I think that if there's a process, it has to be legal. It has to be like, if we're going to do open borders, we should do open borders properly. Like I'm totally against open borders, but I'm saying like, I don't know. Some people do seem to, on the extreme left, have this view of like using illegal immigration as just a way to have open borders without like, and I believe in the rule of law, right? I do think like, things like the Dreamers issue is complicated, but I mean, like if you're born here through basically no control of your own, right? Like you're just as much a citizen of this country as any other, in my opinion, right?
Let's say that again.
The Dreamer thing, right? Like if you were born in the U.S., right, because your parents brought you over, say when you were less than 5 years old or something. I think you're American as anyone else, right? Like,
I think you and I are more American than Americans, other Americans who were born here. Because we don't know more about... we had to earn our way here. We just weren't born here. You had to take a test. You had to make sure you had your vaccinations in place. You had to go through background checks. We both had to spend a lot of money and time and effort, or our employers, to get, we earned it. Now, if you're just a flag-waving phony American who happened to be dropped on a hospital bed because you happen to be on this side of the border, I mean, what? Oh, come on.
But that's true. Most Americans are. They just happen to be plopped into the country.
I'm getting all the Americans mad at us, illegal immigrants now.
The real Americans, yeah.
But for people who don't know about this issue and suffer from this disease called feel sorry forism, pictures speak 1,000 words. And yes, this is Fox News Arizona. But this is Lukeville, Arizona, which is the west part of the Arizona border. Look at the stream of people coming across.
No, but wait, so I remember, so are these people just walking in without any control? Like,
they closed the border, but the gate was still partially open or something. Now, there are some border guards, but they're just streaming across.
I mean, is this a common occurrence? Like, is this happening? It's been happening for years like this? Like,
no, this is a recent. This is a recent thing because they just closed the Lukeville border. I don't know, a couple weeks ago. But it like this is scary to me. Like I don't get scared about things very often, but how many of these people are Hamas people? We don't know.
I mean, there are. Yeah. I don't know, like empirically, like none of the 9/11 attackers came in. They were all here legally, right? Like I feel like, I don't know, maybe that was 20 years ago. Like, has there ever been like any kind of attempted? Yeah, I don't know. Like maybe there's.
Yeah, well,
like,
but even if it's, see, and I ask this question to a lot of people, but let's say there's 1,000 people there. If just one of them is Hamas.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
To me, I don't care about the 999 because number one, they don't deserve, they don't have the right to be here. We're not obliged to help them.
I understand, but it seems like I'm trying to understand why I believe this. But like I remember reading something like the easier way, if you were like someone plotting like a terrorist plot in the U.S., right? So I think this is the point. Like to actually do something like nefarious at scale, right? Like you need no more than just a guy with a backpack walking across the border. You actually have to get like resources, planning takes work. Like you have to get a bunch of people, and at that point, you can't just do it by having people like walk over the whatever border.
Right. But if you do it enough over time, you can get like a coalition of people. But another point is like what these sanctuary cities, which some people just call a political stunt, but I call it smart. Like we have years ago, for the last 5 years, 10 years at least, sanctuary cities, we welcome immigrants, come on in. And now they're starting to change their minds on these. At least the mayor of New York, the mayor of is it Detroit? There's people on the left actually starting to question this and saying our resources. I just saw a video of in New York that immigrants are taking up a whole hotel place. I forget which hotel it was. And they're getting it paid for by the federal government. Why are we spending money on people we don't even know their backgrounds when we got people like this? Is the appeal to the compassion for people on the left when there's U.S. citizens who are suffering and don't have homes.
This is not entirely a good. Many cities are sanctuary cities are also sanctuary cities for people like homeless, right? Like for the homeless, and this is like, in some sense, race to the bottom. Like I live near the city that's like maybe the most extreme version of this, where you do something that's let's just say for argument's sake it's the right set of policies, like the most humane, the best set of policies for homeless people. But if you're the only city in like the entire country that's doing that, obviously that's where everyone is going to end up, right? And then you get overwhelmed. So there are coordination problems to solve here. Like with the sanctuary city thing itself, like I'll say this much: like I'm certainly not comfortable with the idea that you can like overcome supervene the rule of law, right? Like because you don't like. So like there is a place for things like civil disobedience, but
hey, well, let me ask you this: when you were on your visa, like I was, were you ever asked to show your bank account?
So I was told that I would be asked, and so I had prepared a bunch of stuff the first time I entered the country, but I never was.
Okay, Lynn, I want to educate you Americans who were born here about something, because I bet you a lot of Americans don't know this. On more than one occasion, when I was still on a visa and I went back to Canada and had to cross it back into the United States, they asked me for my bank account balance and proof that I could support myself. This is a true story. They wanted to know that I'm not just a visitor on a visa who's now going to overstay their visa, that I could support myself and I wouldn't be a burden to society. Now, getting back to this, why isn't that done with these people? It's feel sorry forism.
Well, with these specific people, it could just be
it's like racism against me. It's racism against me. I'm white. Oh, I got to see your bank balance. But none of the people with darker skin. We'll let them in.
You're ascribing a lot of intentionality to something that's probably just someone bungling up. Like, I really don't think like there's a bunch of leftists in like sitting and saying, "Hey, you know what? This is the perfect time to just quietly like unlock."
No, I'm pointing out. I realize a lot of people there. Because I haven't read Jonathan Haidt, but I've looked at his charts and some of those things. And Jonathan Haidt is a big proposer of there's these certain moral values that people rank, maybe not in their head specifically, but they have these values. And a lot of people on the left, they value fairness more than, let's say, conservatives. I think that's true. But even conservatives are pretty high on fairness. But
I feel like conservatives would rank.
Yeah, but the point is, I'm appealing to that emotional value in people on the left that I was treated differently than people in Lukeville, Arizona right now. Yeah. Why is that fair to me or unfair to them to ask them for their bank account before they cross? Can you support yourself? If we let you in this country, do you know what you're going to do? Do you have a job lined up? Do you have kids you need to support? And are you asking Uncle Sam to pay for your education, your health care, and everything? And if so, why ought we take care of you? Why ought we? Just because it's a compassionate thing to do, and we don't, and you're going to die if we don't? Well, here's a news flash. There's people dying every day on this planet, which we cannot help. That's the reality of this sucky life we live. I'm a naturalist. So I don't believe God's going to come in to bail us out. And so this is just the way it is. So why should we help you as opposed to someone else?
Yeah, look. I mean, first of all, like, okay, look, I think it's legitimate to like ask why is this unfair thing being done, right? But you should also notice that, you know, there's probably like a lot of other aspects of life in which those people in that video like really got the raw deal compared to us, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, if they were from like Guatemala, right? Like, this is probably the only option they have, right? Like, so part of like feeling compassionate for illegal, like, okay, I don't know, I don't represent all liberals, and I certainly don't represent crazy left-wing people, but like, to me, my attitude is like, I don't think it's legal, but when you talk about compassion for illegals, it's the idea that these aren't, like, we should enforce our laws, but there's also a place for understanding that these people are doing things that you and me would have done. Like, they're not like rapists, right? Like, you and me wouldn't rape. Like, put us in a situation where we could rape and we wouldn't rape, right? But put me in a situation like that guy, like my hypothetical guy from Guatemala, right? You better believe I'm going to do what I can to keep my family safe and give them the best chance. So that doesn't mean we just let them stream in, right? Like, it means something. I'm not quite sure, but like, we could like temper our policies with some sort of compassion.
Well, there might be one thing that you and I would have done differently than a lot of people from Guatemala or even Gaza. We would not have reproduced in a dire situation.
Yeah, that's true, but
I know this is this. I get a lot of flack for this, and they think I'm like, what do you call it? What's the word? Eugenic or whatever, Darwin, survival of the fittest. But this is to me just common sense. Like, Gaza is a perfect example. Like, if you truly believe you're in an open air prison, then why in the world are you having kids? Like, you and I wouldn't have kids in a prison. Is it just because we're more intelligent than them? Or like, how stupid do you have to be to have kids in a situation that's hopeless?
So I think so first of all, I don't know what I would have done in a situation like that, right? Like, because the desire to have kids is something more powerful than.
Well, no. The desire to have an orgasm is not kids.
No, I think to have kids. Like,
well,
I actually do find that like, throughout my like 20s, right? I was really wishy-washy about whether I wanted kids. I was like, yeah, I'll probably want them, but later. But a lot of people in their 20s like are absolutely sure they want them, right? Like,
no, I agree. Like, I do think it's evolutionary for us to desire to live eternally through our kids. Yeah, through our yeah. But the desire for orgasm is higher. Like, we're not thinking about, oh, I want to see my son on the basketball court and shoot a layup like I did. It's more like, it's.
But then that doesn't explain the Gazan situation. I don't know, like, how does that explain like why people in Gaza are having like, because are their orgasms better than us? Maybe we could.
Well, I don't know if they just haven't been told that there's more ways. Oh no, it's religion. Yeah. I think it's against the Islamic religion to spill your seed, right?
Well, look, I mean, that's a good point. Like, many cultures, right? Like, people, like fundamental Christians, right? Like, tell their people you should be having kids, right? It's pretty much the only place where you get the opposite message is actually, funnily enough, like Western liberal democracies, like places like when once a country has become like completely modernized, right? And like women are working at the same rates as men and stuff. Like, fertility rates like plummet, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think it's partly a good thing, but people do panic when that happens, right? Like, they're always telling us like, oh my God, like, you know, populations are going to decline in like 20, 30 years. This is a disaster. I'm like, okay, but then weren't we also talking about overpopulation a while ago? So
yeah, well, yeah, it's always something to be scared about, I guess. But I do think, like, I agree with you. The fertility rate dropping is a good thing, but I do think people who can afford to have children and who come from stable homes, who can be productive members of society, should have more kids. Ought to.
I don't know about that necessarily, but
because
I should be a part of the calculation. Yeah, I think everyone should really consider what kind of life you're going to give a kid. Right?
Like if you're a professional and your wife is a professional and you have a nice home and you can give your children a ton of options and opportunities, and you for selfish reasons choose not to have kids because you don't want to change a dirty diaper, like I would say shame on you. Like society needs you to do your part.
You know that there's a thing called the asymmetry argument. There's a guy called not Pat Benatar, but some other Benatar, right, who has this argument for why like you should never have kids, like nobody should ever have kids, and his argument is like what he says is like, look, whenever you consider the situation where like you want to have kids, you had a kid, like if you were in a situation where like that creating a kid would like cause a lot of pain and suffering, blah blah blah, right? We all agree that it's the wrong thing to do to have that kid, to create additional suffering. Most people have the opposite intuition of what you just said, right? Like most people actually don't say that like, oh, if you know that you could have a kid and that kid's life would be awesome and he'd do amazing things, right? Like that doesn't mean that you're obliged to have that kid, right? It's like neutral, like sure, have the kid if you want. So because of this asymmetry, right, like you're obliged in one case but not in the other, like if you do the math, like that means like you should never have kids, because like even if there's a small chance that kid might end up having like a negative life, that's bad, but it's like there's no like so.
But it's risk aversion. Like the probability that my kids will be a burden on society, will commit crimes, it's not zero. There is a chance that might happen. But compared to kids who were raised without fathers in a very poor neighborhood, like the statistics are there. Like you can just look at them. And so if you want a better society, people like me should have more kids, and people in very poor society should have less. If your goal is for a more stable society.
Well, look, I do partly like significantly agree with you, but also like, you know, part of what makes life good in some sense is like, for a lot of people believe that, right? And who are we to like, I don't know, that's just their objective function, right? That they want to have kids, right? For them, like that's what gives them their life meaning, hope, meaning, and purpose, right?
Wow.
Otherwise, why exist at all, right? Like
the thing is, like teenage pregnancies have come down a long ways, but a lot of times people have kids in these poor conditions because the backseat of a Camaro, like it's. Whereas guys like you and me, we have to work at it. Like, okay, lie down here, make sure the lighting's right, the music is right. I mean, we got to work at reproducing. These kids, they just like, they just think about an orgasm and someone's pregnant. I mean,
Well, that I think something like maybe more can be done there, or you know, in at least in the U.S., a lot has been done. So places like Gaza, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, Sean wants in. You know who Sean is? My nemesis.
No.
Actually, stay here. Don't go anywhere.
Weird. Yeah, it's not like I have work to do or anything. Sure.
Just when I was about to leave, they pull me back in.
Oh yeah, I know Sean. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. He's just in case you forgot, Deepak. He's a left-wing man bun wearing granola cruncher.
I remember. Yeah, he looks really scary.
Granola cruncher. I think I've been labeled by Doug progressive granola crunching liberal.
Yeah. Let me get you both on the screen here. Did you have kids,
Look,
Sean?
No.
So you are selfish.
I want to go absolutely. I want to go back just real quick because the only reason I came on was because to say that you are more American than I am, being born in the South of fucking USA in the 1970s, Doug, and you come over without like literally 6 months of fucking this bullshit citizenship. They give you a piece of paper that says you're American. My like literal birth certificate is in the next room with that like fucking stamp that says always American, never revoked.
If you were right, I'd agree with you.
You're just a tourist, right? Like you literally are just a tourist that they gave some fucking piece of paper to him. Or like, hey, look, This will make him shut up, and
See,
we can get all
Deepak,
his
he's
money.
trying to trigger me, but I'm dead inside. It's not going to work. See, I'm not like Peter Boghossian. He can't do it. He can't affect me.
Speaking of Peter Boghossian, Deepak, you were there. I just want to clarify. Was there a little fangirl moment there with Doug? I mean, I listened to the stream for like 5 minutes, and it seemed like Doug was having a little fangirl moment with Peter.
Not from where I was sitting.
Yeah, see,
Doug was trying to like.
Sean, it won't work with Deepak.
A discussion. I think it was helpful.
See, Deepak is intelligent. He's a smart guy, and he's an immigrant who earned his way here. You're not going to turn him against me.
Yeah, the immigrants, we stick together.
Neither of these were meant to turn you. I just literally, Doug, your cheeks were a little rosy. You were smiling a little bit more. You know, you were kind of like, I just
sort of like you right now with me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it's the same thing, right? Like, so just on a scale of like 1 to 10, were the loins a little like, were you getting a little worked up with Peter?
Well, the truth be told, I wasn't wearing pants during that.
That would have been useful information at the time.
Oh man!
So here's Sean sitting in his $500,000 cedar cabin with his motorbike. What do you got? 10 motorbikes in your garage, and it's because of this and his extreme white guilt that he is a far left wing man bun wearing granola cruncher.
White guilt, man.
Yeah.
No, but I'd say on the kid thing that when you guys, it's interesting that you guys were, that you say that, like, because I don't think anybody should have this obligation to have kids, and because Sarah and I don't have children and won't have children, more than likely won't have children. It's a number of things, and not to go into our lives, but it's a number of things, and some of them are selfish, some of them are not selfish. So I just to say, like, because you're successful in society, you should have kids. That seems kind of odd to me. I think as atheists, we should have more kids because
are Americans
we're outnumbered. We're outnumbered as atheists. We're outnumbered, right? That's
the way it should be.
That battle all day.
Atheism should be special. We're a special club. But do you think Americans are obliged to let children across the border from poor countries?
Going back to the, I don't necessarily.
Lean yes, lean no.
Just like some random kid shows up at the border. I think we should do whatever it takes to protect that child.
Okay.
And not
See, isn't that interesting? You say we're obliged. There's an ought there to have children from other countries come in, but I can't say you ought to have kids of your own.
Well, listen to what you said and the way that I answered. If some random child alone shows up at the border, I think, yes, we should do all that we can to protect that child, and ultimately.
But that's not what I asked. I mean, like, yeah, you can protect that child and send them back where they came from. Maybe their parents are waiting for them, and the child was stolen from them through trafficking. But I'm saying that they automatically become citizens of the country. See, it's these oughts, right? I said you ought to, if you're upper middle class American and you can provide so much opportunity for your children and you choose not to have kids, I'm saying you ought to have kids. And you're saying, no. But yet you would say, yeah, we ought to help kids come into our country.
But like when you say you ought to have kids, like when you're upper middle class, blah, 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 right? Like what, like, is that an obligation we have to society to give them like people who can contribute? Or is it like...
I'm just saying in my opinion.
No, but I'm trying to understand it, right? Like you're saying you ought, like usually like an obligation is to somebody or to some...
To society.
People, to society, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, suppose it was a kid that would just, not necessarily be a bad person, but if you knew for a fact that you could create the kid who would cure cancer, right? Then maybe you could say you have an obligation to society to create that kid. But it was a kid who doesn't do anything special, just uses your money, has some pleasure and so on. Like, are you obliged to anyone in particular to, like, are you obliged to that kid?
I would say basically that preference to have a child that is a positive contributor to society, meaning they give more to society than they take. And by the way,
but you're assuming just because the parents are, so I think Deepak, you're looking slim, by the way. I noticed that earlier. Like maybe it's a filter, but you look like, you look fit. You look like you've got.
He's on the East Indian diet.
But Doug, I think the question is why? Like why? And because for me, I don't necessarily think because parents are productive. Ultimately, we can say that I know a lot of kids that I either grew up with, or I know a lot of friends that have children that are.
Yeah, there's no guarantees.
To do, and the kids, right? The kids are just fucking miserable, right? Like they're handed. Like
your
daughter lives at home. She's hold on.
I agree.
Got money. The daughter lives at home. You give her whatever she wants. She's going to be like less productive than myself or Deepak, right? Like Deepak.
Not if Deepak is her father or me. Like for example, I could afford to pay for my son is about to go to college next year. I could afford to pay for it. I'm not. So you're on your own, buddy. I can afford to pay my kids. I can afford to pay for automobiles for my kids. I do not. They have to get rides. They become dependent on us.
The two things I'm simply saying is I know lots of people that are well-to-do that you're talking about that ought to have kids. That have kids, those kids turn out a little bit miserable, or they're not as productive as their parents, right? They're just not, for whatever reason. Then you've got a significant amount of kids that have problems just because they're kids, right? Like you have a litter of 5 kids and there's a chance that you might have a couple that are.
I understand
so
that,
great, right?
Sean. You're speaking common sense. I agree with you. There's no certainties.
So, right, but that's what I'm asking. Why should we have kids if you're halfway intelligent?
Because you got to play the odds. Like if I described to you a scene of 3 guys going into a jewelry store wearing masks and then they're holding hammers and they crash it down. And then I ask you this question: are those kids more likely to be my kids, or kids raised in a fatherless home? What would you guess is if you had to place a bet?
I don't.
Come on.
Honestly, I think that. How many?
You know the stats, don't you?
Honestly, I don't, and I think that we see. And no, I get that you guys were having the poor people like so I understand a little bit of that, Doug. But simply to say that because you're productive or successful and halfway intelligent, it doesn't necessarily like mean that your kids are going to be is my biggest pushback.
Agreed. Well, but I don't know why you're saying this for the third time. I already agreed with you. Why should we have kids? Like I don't know. That just seems real odd to me that someone would say, right, like we don't have kids because you're selfish or because you should be having kids. Like it seems like a religious, is it still like left over from?
The argument could be that you have an obligation to your uncreated kid, right, to exist, because that's a kid who is more likely than not to have a good life, right, to have a life of positive value, right. I'm not saying I actually don't have that intuition, right. This is what I was telling Doug about, like the asymmetry argument. Like if you knew your kid was going to have a life of suffering, right, you're obliged to not create that kid, I think. But I really don't have the opposite intuition, right. Doug seems to have it.
I don't either, Deepak. And a friend, not a close friend, but a friend 3 days ago just died, left 2 kids and a wife behind. So you just never, I know you play the odds, Doug, but
71% of high school dropouts are fatherless. Fatherless children have more trouble academically. Children from father absent homes are more likely to be truant from school, more likely to be excluded from school, more likely to leave school age, and more likely to commit crimes.
Do you think that the fatherless just refers to like absentee fathers, like fathers that ditch out on their kids?
Yeah.
Or doesn't
mean legally married or just there, present.
I mean, the fatherless itself may not be the causal factor, but it might. But I think even like the fatherless variable, right, is probably also like associated with all these factors, right? That means that like you're likely to have poor outcomes, right?
Children from single parent families,
but he probably thinks like my mother does, right? Like Chicago's full of fatherless homes. Right, that's the problem. America's struggling, or that
what I'm saying is, if you're
crime is because of all the fatherless homes, and
Sean,
I'm just saying there are more reasons than Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
What I'm saying is that if you are a stable man and married to a stable woman and you're affluent, you can give opportunities. There's no certainties in life, but children from single parent families are twice as likely to suffer from mental health problems. Data suggests 84% of homeless families are headed by a woman. 90% of the homeless and runaway children come from fatherless homes. These are the burdens of society. This is a burden to society when you have fatherless homes, where you have mental illness, where you have low education because of this lack of stable home. And I'm saying that people with stable homes ought to have children because they can help reverse and help pay for the burdens in society. And I say it on purpose that way because it triggers people.
I think if we lived in a world that leaned more like I think it should, it would help pay for that. But you don't want to pay for anything. So let's say we have all these people.
Deepak, hell, what? Do you want to see my tax returns or what?
It's just so foreign to me to say that we ought to have kids. I mean, I think that I disagree with that, especially as an American, Doug, and maybe you're only a young American, so you don't realize this. Americans ought to do whatever the fuck we want to. So you tell me to do anything is not going to go over. Absolutely.
Oh, let's test them on that, Deepak. Americans ought to do the F they want to.
Whatever I want to do. That, sir, is the American way.
Okay, so is the American way to vote legislation to prevent trans people from committing in trans sports? They can do whatever they want to, right?
The American way is to vote however you want to. That's the beauty of America. Vote however you want to.
Okay. And you wouldn't say things like go back to your country if you vote opposite to what you would want. You would never say stuff like that.
Doug, I don't say go back to your country because of the way you vote. I say go back to your own country because you're Canadian. You don't belong here. You weren't born here. You weren't raised here. You're just a tourist.
See, he's trying to trigger me again. It's not going to work. I'm not Peter Boghossian. You cannot trigger me.
That is true. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, have we had enough fun?
Yeah. Man, too much fun.
Okay. Well, I've been on too long. I've been on for 3 hours now. So thanks, Sean. Thanks, Deepak.
Yep. Nice to see you, Deepak. Thanks, Doug.
Good to see you guys again. Yeah. I hope. Yeah.
I had the music started, and then I stopped it because Diego said the immigration word. It's all your fault, Diego. Your fault, Diego. To be perfectly honest, I tended to notice Doug using a lot of false dichotomies today, but I will not give it one single example, because that'd be too much work. I'm an American, I don't vote. People seem to have a problem with that. Well, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, especially if you're an idiot. If you're an idiot, I don't want you to vote. So I hope you're an idiot, Rage for the Machine. I ate a book of synonyms and it gave me thesaurus throat. I could, but I love you too much. Oh, yeah. Of course. If you lean left, if you lean right, I think we can agree we want to know who's coming into our country. Seal that border. except for the port of entry. Let's get the visa system working better. Less money for Ukraine, more money for our border. Sorry, Ukrainians. But what have you done for me lately? Poof!